It is Spa season everywhere in motorsport and sim racing, and we are going to join the party. A fantastic community race, which we've seen a few of in the recent past. We are looking forward to another thrilling race. This one, the Spa 2.4 hours here on RaceRoom. We've got plenty of big names out on track. And at the commentary booth, I'm Lewis McGlade. Robert Wiesenmüller is alongside me. Hello, Rob. This is going to be a thriller, surely.
Hello, Lewis. Hello, everyone. Yes, indeed. RaceRoom 2.4 hours is finally here, one of the biggest ranked multiplayer events in the year. And yeah, the server was full after like 20 seconds. So I think we can look forward to an exciting race.
Especially considering some of the other community events. I mean, we did the Nürburgring 2.4 hour not that long ago, and what a thrilling race it was. Won by Soto, who's here today as well, racing. We've got plenty of big names out on the grid. And if that race is anything to go by when it comes to the strategy and all this kind of stuff, we are looking forward to some crazy stuff again today.
Yes, indeed. We can see perhaps some cars doing the one-stop strategy. Other cars will have to do the two-stop strategy. But then also the question is, do you always also change tires? So that should be interesting. We've got plenty of different cars on the server. We've got Corvettes, Audis, Bentleys, BMWs, of course. Porsche is there as well. And that should be exciting.
Absolutely, and with that sort of open strategy and stuff, with such a large grid as well, you were saying the servers were filling up so fast, the fantastic rise of RaceRoom competition. We've got, like I say, it's a big server full of big names. Even some of the other big names as well weren't able to get onto the server. We were just talking about this prior to it. But we've got plenty of names from the likes of league racing as well as from the communities and stuff. And based on the Nürburgring, these communities really attack these community races as they were. You know, they attack the competition with absolute force. They are not to be ruled out. They're incredible drivers from top to bottom.
Yes, we've got a couple of esports drivers here, challenging these experienced drivers from the ranked mode. We've got the top-rated ranked driver as well. That is, of course, José Luis, the Spaniard. And, for example, Isaac Price, who was in fantastic form in the GT Masters Esports. He's there as well, so it should be very exciting. We were so excited that we started the stream a little bit earlier, but that should allow us to show a little bit more of these cars on track. So let's try to find a way to show them, right?
Absolutely. Well, as you say, we're a little bit early here. We've got 20 minutes of practice still to go, and then we'll be going into qualifying for 20 minutes before heading to a 2.4-hour race, which for me, I mean, I'm normally more on the sprint race side of things. I do like myself some short racy action, but the idea of going for 2 hours and 24 minutes, it's that awkward middle ground where strategically you're kind of left either side of it. You can one stop, you can two stop. There's nothing that really kind of works to perfection, and that's from a racing standpoint and from our standpoint watching, that is absolutely perfect because it means it's wide open.
Yeah, and there's also the difference of the cars, of course. We can see here Luciano Wittwood, who just went fastest in the practice session. He's in the Audi, and in the Audi you don't really have the possibility to, this Van der Zyden, for example, in the Audi as well, don't really have the possibility to do a one-stop because the fuel capacity isn't high enough. But for example, if you drive Bentley like this guy here, then you could.
And Isaac Price is a top-tier driver, as you brought up. That he's done well recently, of course, in the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship. Is one of those drivers that's been around in esports for a very, very long time across a multitude of teams over a very long period of time, and looking to mess it with some of the best. You said there as well that José Luis, the highest-ranked driver on iRacing now, taking over that top spot.
I don't think recently. He's on the highest ranked on iRacing.
On iRacing? That's a completely wrong platform.
I think he's the highest ranked driver on the ranked multiplayer. Yes, I'm not sure how good he is on iRacing, but we've seen a couple of drivers come over from iRacing to try out at RaceRoom. I believe Isaac Price also drove a little bit on iRacing in the past.
Yeah, that was a solid fail. I knew exactly what I meant. You pick it up on me straight away. Yes, the highest ranked person on RaceRoom. Taking over that spot fairly recently, because I'm pretty sure when we went racing last time, I think it might have been Pavel McComan or Sokovikov that might have been on the top.
I think it was McConan who was on top for a long time. But José Luis, you can see the rating there at the bottom. For example, John Wieczorek, 1889 is his rating. And that's pretty good, because you need 1800 on the server. It's the first time that we had to launch a Platinum server, because we expected that a lot of drivers want to race here. Didn't expect that many. But yeah, 1889, that's a solid rating. But look at Jose Luis, 2380.
Yeah, sensational. Just been racing really well recently. I was going through some of the stats as well from I say the last race that I was a part of was the only one that I can go on reference. Of course, it was won by Javier Soto, and it was very open on strategy then. It was all over the place when it comes to picking apart what kind of strategy you would run, and I think it was a one stop that came out strong that day. Whether it'll be the same here, where you've got, I mean, it's a long lap still, 6.9 kilometers, but it's much shorter than, of course, the Nordschleife, and that can make things. You've got to think fast on strategy.
Yeah, you definitely have to, and I think even last time it was such an interesting race where strategy played such a big role when Soto didn't change the tires in the last pit stop. So see what these drivers come up with here. I think it's one of these ranked races where drivers have done quite a bit more practice than usual. You can see good times here, 17s already, yeah, but I'm pretty sure they will go into the 16s in qualifying. 15, really possible, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's like I say, we've got an incredible group of drivers that have raced on RaceRoom quite a lot now. Obviously, I'm more aware as to what's happened on the league side of things, the series side of things on the esports competition. But behind the scenes, and whilst everyone's been racing, everyone watching as well can go and get themselves involved in so much of the fantastic racing on RaceRoom, because there's events that happen all the way throughout the week. It's not just this one. This is a showpiece event in a sense, but there's so much more that happens.
Yeah, we've got 3 different rookie combinations running each week, so you can just start out. You can get the starter pack on RaceRoom, it's just $10. And yeah, you can race the ranked mode, that's it. No monthly fee or anything like that. And you can grind your way up, you can get some more cars, some more tracks, and then maybe you one day end up in the Platinum server. Race with these guys here.
Aren't you yeah, see, I'm looking at the list now. You're ranked number 5.
Yeah, I did a lot of races here. Kind of a shame that I can't join today, but that's how it is when you have to do the stream.
Yeah, you're doing all right. I mean, obviously, I've known you from a long time in sim racing, winning championships and whatnot. So it's no surprise, at least to me, to see you up there at number 5. I'm not on the list, unfortunately. I've not taken to the track yet. One day, maybe. We'll 1v1. Focus to be.
Let's do that, and let's not invite Jose Luis, because I think then we will bore hours at Nürburgring. He's actually in the lead, and Soto right behind him, so 2 of the main protagonists from that race are at the top here. And a lot of Audis at the top.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Audi is not running on ballast weight. Javier Soto, of course, he's got his own Twitch channel. You can watch his race there. It's called GTRO_Stradivar. And you should check it out, especially if you can speak Spanish. It's, I think, at the moment one of the biggest channels that streaming RaceRoom regularly, and he's doing a great job. Fantastic driver as well. He won, of course, at the Nürburgring. Let's see what he can achieve this time.
But this is where it's, like I say, very interesting. We've got 5 Audis up there, but this is the joy of GT racing, especially over these kind of distances where, yeah, Audis are up there. They're 1 through 5. Obviously, we're in practice, so it's very early days here. But once we get into qualifying, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised to see the same kind of Audis right up the front. But over a race distance, we see it kind of move and ebb and flow one way or the other, and it's less of a clear picture. It's a bit more hazy, it's a bit more muddy as to where the car strengths are going to be over the race.
Yeah, and it's also that it's not all the same Audis. Just van der Zijden in the modern, in the Evo version, you can see it, the front is a little bit different. It's a bit more aggressive. And Soto, and also Machal, and Lewis as well, and the older version of the Audi. So there could be some performance differences. I believe the older Audi is a little bit faster on a straight line.
Right.
And the newer Audi is a bit better in slower corners. So that would be interesting. Also got different Bentleys. Price in the new one. But we've seen Dennis Schöps and Christian Grotte, for example, in the old Bentley. And the same with the Mercedeses. We were just watching Hennig, I think, in the new Mercedes, but for example, David Kulas is in the older model. So lots of different cars here, lots of variety, and look at this. Moritz Löhner did find a way to join the server in the end, in his Porsche from the GT Masters Championship, so we might have a pretty competitive Porsche on the grid as well.
That's not a name you want to come up against in a community race, is it? Let's be honest. Such a talented driver is Moritz Löhner. He's been setting the world alight, not only in the sim racing world, but of course in the real world of motorsports. Racing in the DTM Trophy, did a fantastic job in that, and now we get to see him racing here as well. Of course, race winner yesterday in the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship in the opening sprint race of the night, as well as winning countless other things. Runner-up in the Cupra Sim Racing Series of 2020. Like there's so many accolades that you can just throw at Moritz Löhner, because he's achieved so much in sim racing. And like I say, if you're coming out here for a nice Wednesday night drive and you see his name pop up, you think, oh my god.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for sure to race against Moritz. There's plenty of other drivers as well that we should keep an eye out for. Alex Mosin, he was one of the guys that I was battling with when I drove the 2-hour race at Spa earlier this year. It was a multi-class race. He's very competitive. Back then he was in the Corvette, but the Corvette has a bit of ballast weight, so he also went for the Audi. Audi very fast, but kind of difficult to drive. So I'm a bit surprised that so many people went for the Audi, but let's just see how it goes for him here. Only P17 at the moment. He drove a lot faster than the Corvette last time, so let's see how far up he can go on the field.
It's kind of one of the general characteristics of the Audi, and that's a common thing, not just actually in sim racing. Actually represented them, but it's one of those things we actually represent kind of correctly in that sense. Because I was speaking to a couple of drivers that did the 24-hour at the weekend, saying that the Audi is quite difficult to drive. It is a hard vehicle to muster around the track, but when you get it right, it's damn quick. It's oversteer, it's loose, and it's loose at the wrong points. It doesn't take curbs very well. With it's a very, very low car. It's very flat, and it's not so predictable. Whereas other cars, such as the Bentley, which by the way Isaac Price has got up into second position now, so motoring along a little bit more into the final 10 minutes of practice. Cars like that, cars like the Mercedes, a bit more predictable. It's kind of why I was quite happy racing in the Mercedes in that 3-hour race on the Nordschleife we did 3-4 years ago in that Landmark, because it's a calm, predictable car to drive. It makes sense.
Yeah, the BMW also actually a car that has very good handling, has 10 kilos of extra weight. I would have expected that it's still the fastest car, to be honest, so surprised to see just a few of them here. But Ben Farkas, he's a driver with esports experience as well, and he's got a very high rating, over 2,100. So, yeah, perhaps one of the candidates for a podium position as well.
There's so many candidates for a podium position in this, though, and that is perfect. By the way, Moritz Löhner's actually out on track and is starting his one at Spa. So, as I say, we're in practice at the moment. We'll be going into qualifying, but for some of these drivers, they may not be as experienced around Spa in this car as they would want. You said a lot of drivers have put in a lot of work, whereas various people have been very, very busy recently. We say the likes of Isaac Price and Moritz Löhner have been out and about in sim racing doing an awful lot, because the sim racing world right now, it seems like a lot of these big drivers, they seem to be racing pretty much every day, every other day. Yeah. And so your preparation for that can only realistically be a few hours.
Yeah, tomorrow there's another race coming up,
exactly.
Cupra Sim Racing Series at the same track. I don't think Löhner is racing in this competition, but yeah, we have a lot of guys who raced yesterday in the GT Masters race. We have to race then again, and yeah, it's not easy being a pro sim racer, I guess.
I think back in the day when I used to not be completely rubbish and only moderately average, I think I limited myself, because obviously most series run every other week. and I was like 4 series max at one time, absolute maximum. And like even in the off season where it's a bit calm, quite a lot of these are doing that kind of level of racing. And what do they do on a day where they might have a little bit of free air, where they don't have to go racing? They go racing again anyway.
Yeah, it's a passion after all.
Yeah,
just can't let go so easily. Just saw Timo, by the way, who made this awesome trailer video we saw in the beginning. In the green Audi, and this is Wille Krivy in the Iron Force Porsche. One of only 2 Porsches on the grid. Porsche not exactly the car that I would expect to be fast around Spa, because it's always very strong in slow corners, accelerating out of slow corners, and the brakes got a very good traction, of course, because of the engine concept. But it's also not very easy to drive.
No, and that is a traditional Porsche trait, where they are quite tricky to drive. Normally quite fast, but yeah, you're right. Spa is not exactly a circuit which would necessarily you'd expect Porsches to feature quite high, because realistically speaking, you only have, to be honest, if you're being realistic, 1-2 properly slow corners. I saw some the final chicane where it's gonna that traction's gonna work, but even then, the straight line speed of the Porsche is just not quite good enough running down to Les Combes. So it's I wouldn't say it's a completely uncompetitive car, but it's one that you need the very best to wrestle it around in. Moritz Lerner a second off at present on the completion of the first lap, down in 15th position, and looking a little bit better on the second lap, but you can see they're losing 4/10 in Sector 1 alone. Not great, but again, it's fine. It's fine. It's all about the racing anyway, which we know Moritz Lerner does very well.
Yeah, but you also don't know if they are on quali pace or on race pace at the moment.
Yes.
So, needs to be seen. Van der Zijden still topping the timing sheets, but he's also losing 4/10 on himself. Maybe he had a slipstream.
Yeah, and maybe it was on quali and now doing a little bit of a race run and trying to bring it around. Of course, one of the most important things, and we did see this at the Nürburgring and at Imola when we did the Imola Grand Prix a good while ago, is that one thing which people don't necessarily practice as much as they really should: pit lane entry. Need to make sure that you're on top of that, because it's, for one, I mean, this pit lane entry is not the hardest in the world, but it's not easy either. It's quite an awkward line in. Van der Zijden going very, very wide, as he now gets deposed from Marshall, who's just gone up to the top of the session, and 2/10 clear as well, with a decent slipstream.
And David Marshall, for me, a driver that I have not seen racing before. So maybe he's in for a big surprise here. Rating over 2000 as well. You can see next to it the reputation as well. That's sort of indicates how safe you drive, and also like if you quit races or not. Lewis there, 98.555. That's a crazy reputation. Of course, 100 is the maximum, but you can't actually achieve 100. You can just achieve 99.999. But this is a crazy reputation. Currently only P5. Of course, this race it's different than getting to the top of the entire leaderboard.
It's kind of like your reputation, your cleanliness, your on track behaviour in a sense, and making sure that you're the higher number, the more you'd expect that driver to be clean and to be respectful and that. So yeah, it's excellent to see, and fingers crossed. To be fair to me, that what it says above anything else is it's like the rating is just, speed, etc., or however you want to think about it, just completion of races in good positions, etc. But the reputation, that's how good your racecraft is. That's the meaty side of that. That's working your way around other people, being clean, or to be fair, driving away from everyone. There is that side of things.
Yeah, of course, but I don't think anyone can drive away here this time. You would guess maybe Lerner or Price could, but Price, the thing with Price is he's in the same Bentley as Pavlacek, who we see on the screen right now. This Bentley has got quite a lot of ballast weight because of the fuel advantage. If he can pull off the one stop, he might have a good chance here, because he's also close to the pace of the leaders. But yeah, this car has a little bit more ballast weight, so it should be a little bit slower. from the initial pace in order to make up for the potential pit stop advantage. But even if you want to go for the one stop, you still have to save fuel.
Yeah. That's that, like the fuel saving. Sitting in, I think that's gonna, you're gonna need to be in the middle of the pack, sitting on the rear end of someone to save a bit of fuel around here. Which of tracks to do that on, this is a pretty a good one to do it, because it's, you've got insanely long straights, and it does work out. By the way, on the tower on the left hand side, we've got so many drivers that the tower gets down to the bottom, and then there is still 3 more. We are down to 34 drivers on the grid, the only one to not set a time.
Did it work?
There we go. We can see the 30. We can see the 33rd. Ben Sparkas has not set a time yet. That's why he's not on the tower.
Yeah, I think you have to make it even smaller once Sparkas sets a time.
It's great to see a grid this large, to be perfectly honest. It means, at least to me, that surely, and this is knock on wood territory, but still, over a 2.4 hour race, most people are going to have company all the way through, which is it's great. I was always I think this is when I joined TPS back in the day, is that I think it's you and Mike and that lot were all telling me that, look, if you come and join, even if you're at the back, you'll still have someone to battle with, which wasn't necessarily true, because I was actually quite bad, but we'll gloss over that one.
Yeah, I mean, what I just want to point out is that there are currently 8 servers running as well. So this is the Platinum server, but there's a Gold server, there's 3 Bronze servers, 2 Silver servers, and then there's the Sprint race as well. That is happening at the same time. That's just filling up for those people who didn't even get in. So it's a really crowded event, and yeah, looking good.
Now, obviously, Platinum, Gold, it's to do with your ratings and to such as to how to get in. Kind of explain how that kind of works on differing drivers.
Yeah, exactly. So these servers are limited by rating and reputation. So for the Platinum server, you need a rating of at least 1800 and a reputation of at least 85. So you can see here, Andre Rocha, he just got in because his reputation is just high enough. And then for the lower servers, they are a little bit lower requirements. Gold is still pretty high. That's normally the highest server that we host. And there you need 1785. And then for Silver, it's 1550. And I think it is 80 reputation as well. And then Silver it's low, and for Bronze you just need a reputation. You do not need a rating. So everyone, as long as you drive fair, everyone can join these events. There's no we're not locking anyone out. Yeah. That's the extra appeal. It's not like an esport competition where only a few qualify. Speaking of qualifying, we're just about to start there, I guess.
Yeah, I was about to say we're just heading into a 20-minute qualifying session, but it's great to see. Like, this is the beautiful thing about this, is it's just about getting people onto the track and racing. And for anyone new to sim racing or trying to get into it, this is the perfect kind of things to try and get yourself in with these kind of community races things that are away from the complete esports competitions, where it's so very difficult. Everyone, to use a word, are tryhards. They're always out there. They're doing all of their practice. They are on it doing hundreds and hundreds of laps to try and get on the leaderboard as high as possible, and it can be a bit heartbreaking to put in a lot of work, even if to someone who's new in sim racing or whatever, to even put in a couple of hours of work and be so far off. It's a hard pill to swallow. Meanwhile, you have events like this where you just show up and you just go racing, and that's the whole thing of the ranked multiplayer, is that ranked is not a scary word in this sense. It's open. It's trying to get people out onto the racetrack and enjoying sim racing.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to invite everyone, try it out, join it, just do a couple of races on the rookie service if you haven't done so already. And yeah, we're growing here as a community. These events were not possible in last year in this capacity, but now we can do it. Every week we have nice events, nice new servers, and yeah, of course, this is one of the highlights in the year. So let's see how it goes.
Well, we're in qualifying then, so it's just an open session, everyone out on track, at the same time. Jose Luis, being the first driver around, was sick. That position, number 6, is where he was in practice as well. One of the Audis that was right up towards the top end. David Marchal topping the session with Chris van der Zijden, Luciano Wittvet and Javier Soto being the top 4 Audis. Isaac Price did get dropped down a little bit towards the end of the session, and for anyone, I mean, I've got to keep an eye on him because I'm a bit of a Moritz Lerner fan, if I'm perfectly honest. Not that, you know, I'm impartial still, it's fine. But down in 19th spot after only getting a couple of laps in practice. We'll need to do a little bit better than that in this session. But now we're really going to see the outright pace of these drivers. Jose Luis will be the first one, and to be fair, this is one of the tracks where I'm not sure that much clean air's great, because yeah, you get to do your own lap time, but you don't get the all-important slipstream up to Les Combes.
That's true. Let's go on board here with Jose Luis for his first qualifying lap.
Yeah, indeed. We'll have that run into La Source. Heavy on the brakes it will be. A tricky circuit itself, but hooking up this apex and getting a clean drive off of La Source is absolutely crucial. You can see a little bit of oversteer of opposite lock from Jose Luis, which isn't ideal on the run down to one of the most famous complex of corners anywhere in motorsport as we head through Eau Rouge, up the hill, through Radion, which has been a contentious topic of recent past, very far over the curb, through the Camel curve and onto the Camel straight. And this is it's a complete uphill section. It's a lot steeper than it looks. Everyone kind of assumes this bit's flat, but it most certainly isn't, and it means that you can get on the brakes so late into Les Combes. Use a lot of the first curve. Right. Yeah, straight on. I was going to say, I did think he was a little bit too fast in there. We'll drop back to Isaac Price then, through Les Combes cleanly. Purple in the first sector, of course, as everyone will be, through Malmedy, and that run down the hill to Rivage. This is probably one of the hardest corners on the circuit to me. It's almost double apex, but then you kind of want to hold the white line all the way around. There's never a perfect line. Through Speaker's corner with no name, whatever you want to call it, X curve, down the hill to Puon, another double apex corner, but this one at intense speed. I've seen plenty of overtakes into this. It takes the brave to do it though. Puon first apex, not running too far wide and getting pulled off by that curb into the second curb, and the run towards Fania, Piff Paff. Again, another corner with multiple names. You can use a little bit of the second curb, but you want to avoid the first one. There you go. You can see Isaac Price just mounting the second one a little bit and then running it out towards Campus, and heavy on the brakes, using the curb on the left-hand side before turning as well. It's looking pretty clean from Isaac Price in this Bentley, through Stavelot and out curve Paul Frere and onto this back straight towards Blanchimont, where this is an awkward part of the track where it kinks right, it kinks left again. If you're behind someone, you're trying to make a move, it's hard to jostle your way through track position to try and get to the inside. That's why we don't see too many moves these days. Into Blanchimont, into the final chicane. It was previously a bus stop, of course, but now it's just a more standardised chicane, but very tight and uphill as well. We'll see dives in the middle portion of that. Out of the final corner, Isaac Price will continue and will complete his first lap of the session. Interesting to see that mistakes already being made in that qualifying session, but not by Isaac Price. 16.6. That's a pretty good time to open it with.
That's very good, especially in the Bentley with the weight. Isaac Price there in his own livery from the GT Masters Championship. All black car. And Chris van der Zijden, what can he respond with? Oh, but he lost a lot of time in the second sector. Soto as well, 7/10 down.
Yeah, not great. Not ideal, but this is the thing, it's a 20-minute session, so the first laps that you set, they're just banker laps, they're just getting your name on the board, and there are a lot of people that have messed up on their first lap, and it's so easy to do. Look at how much faster this is from Jose Luis. I did wonder what it was going to be like, because that run through La Source and down the hill just wasn't perfect, and now seeing a much better run, 2/10 up. Don't know how much time we might lose in the middle sector though, but this is looking a lot more promising.
What's also looking promising, I just read it in the chat, thanks to Captain Coffee, who's also streaming a lot of races on his Twitch channel. We reached a new record, or we tied the record of active players on ranked. So that's great to see, a lot of people playing. And for those of you who are not playing, who are watching in the chat, a very warm welcome. Hope you enjoy it here. 2.4-hour race today. And Jose Luis, maybe on his way to pole position?
I think we got close to beating it, or we did in fact beat it in the Imola Grand Prix. It was a good while ago though, mind, but it's been beaten countless times since then, of course, and
yeah, I think in the
24
in the 2.4 hours of the Nordschleife
Probably, yeah. It's constantly being beaten.
At Lewis here also beating Price in the middle sector, and that's strong because the Bentley is strong in the middle sector.
It's looking very, very good for Jose Luis right now. We were wondering what the pole time's going to be. We're talking 16s, more so towards low 16s. Could it be a 15, which at the moment, tracking maybe in that kind of vein. We'll have to see what it's like. Really mounts that the first curb going through the final chicane before even the halfway point of the session. What is the #1 RaceRoom ranked driver going to do across the line? It's a 16.296 to put the pressure on everyone else and pull a second clear of Javier Soto, the front rower in a league of their own at the moment.
Juan Clement up to third position in another Audi as well, and I think the time from Luis has been corrected. 3:18, and there's Moritz Löhner up to P3.
Yeah, I was wondering what Lerner was going to do there. So yeah, third position at the moment, although I'm going to say this now. I think a lot of the other times set in this session are not fully representative of their own pace. There's a few drivers missing from that top bout that maybe we were expecting up there. There's one. Isaac Price goes up, right up into the mix. We've had Luciano Wittfurt as well. We've got Van der Zijden just up into third position. That was the one that I saw move up, rather. Right up into it, but still a fair way off. Is this because Jose Luis is that much faster than everyone else, or is this just because of people's laps not coming in correctly right now?
Well, it's hard in the open qualifying session with 34 cars on track to find a gap to set a clean time, and Wittfurt is looking much better for the next lap. This is his out lap though. Maybe we can jump to the fastest Corvette. Fran Machuca from Spain. Lots of Spanish drivers. I think that's also due to the Soto effect, I would say.
Yeah.
He's streaming a lot of races. He brought a lot of drivers into the ranked mode. It's great to see here.
The same thing as though, in a slight sense, you know, Norbert Michelis bringing in all of the Hungarians, and that's why there's a large Hungarian contingent in esports racing on RaceRoom, and we're seeing that as well with the Spanish, and it's lovely to see. It really, really is.
Yeah, Luke Crane always said there's always a Hungarian, and this time there's two.
We do always have a Hungarian. It's a great point.
Boldisha Vesegi Notch, I think it is. We just see on the screen, but he's just the second fastest Hungarian because Ben Farkas is ahead of him in P13 in the BMW.
The driver struggled in practice, but looking a bit better here in qualifying, and yeah, I'm sure wouldn't have been worried from struggle in practice, because obviously one of the things of sim racing is that the practice that they do on this is probably not their only practice. For some drivers, I'm sure it is, but for the most part, not necessarily the case. Is a bit more improvement further up. So interesting. Also seeing Marchal, who was right up there in practice, jumping up into 7th spot. So potentially trying to find a little bit more time. Luciano Wittfurt wondering where he is. Still yet to set a time. One of 2 drivers at the moment yet to set a time in this session.
Oh, there was something changing at the front. I think it was Soto moving up to P3.
Yeah. So many drivers to keep an eye on in this. We've got a lot, considering we only had 2 drivers within a second. We're up to 6 now, and I'd suspect that gap will come down even further as Vejerik comes across the line. In 33rd at the moment, yet to set a time. One of 2 drivers to do it. Goes up to 25th, which now means that Luciano Wittfurt, the sole driver, yet to set a time in this session right now, which is not good. Juan Clement going a little bit faster in Sector 1 and potentially going to try and challenge for... I'd say the front row is maybe a little bit out of reach after that first sector, but you never know.
Anyway,
we're halfway through the session.
I think he could already be happy if he starts on the second row. Luis and Price are, you know, 2 very highly rated drivers. He's ahead of Löhner and Van der Zijden, so...
Yeah.
See if he stays here. I have a couple of drivers on green sectors. Löhner is one of them. He's losing a lot of time in the first sector. I don't think you can do a Rouge flat in the Porsche. We'll see that later on. You will go on board with him. You can definitely do it flat in the BMW and in the Bentley as well, and I'm pretty sure you can do it in the Audi. But it's a bit critical in the Audi. You might get the oversteer when you come out on top.
Oh, speaking of oversteer, there we go with Moritz Lerner. He is wrestling this car hard, a car that he's become quite used to. It is interesting to see. I mean, it's not necessarily a surprise, but a lot of these drivers that do the esports stuff, so the likes of Isaac Price and Moritz Lerner, are taking a part in this in their esports cars. I mean, for two reasons. Number one, it's got your name on it, so you know, you might as well race in it.
Right. Very wide. Was that a cut?
Well, I mean, it still locked the sector. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it did count it as a cut. We'll have to wait and see whether the time counts across the line. It's looking very good, though, as you said. Absolutely right. Great second sector. Lost only a little bit in Sector 1. And is this time still counting in the Bentley of Isaac Price? Hooks up the apexes through the chicane. I was wondering if it got cancelled. There we go. We have our answer. Lap must have been cancelled. And going for a spin, David Kulas. I think we're going to see that a lot today.
One of the Mercedes here. Kilian Gerd currently the fastest one. And yes, Spa is a track which is fantastic for driving, which is awesome for overtaking, but it's also quite easy to get into a crash here.
Yeah. Okay, if you were to pick any car right now and jump into the grid, what car would it be?
I probably would take the BMW, to be honest. And I would probably make a mistake, judging by by the current standings.
But why the BMW? Because I'd more lean towards the Mercedes. A bit of stability, a bit of straight line speed, a bit of punch.
I just drove this car when we had the 2-hour race, and it was good.
I do like a good M6 as well. It's a nice looking car.
Yeah, it had exactly this livery, which looks awesome in my opinion. It's a Japanese version.
Yeah, it is a very pretty livery. Did race against someone in a touring car league with that livery on it, because it does look that good. Rokas to be though, 15th spot at the moment. Pretty sure wouldn't be too happy with it, but I don't think he'd be disappointed.
No, he was the winner at the Red Bull Ring race, if I'm not mistaken, in GT4 category. So also a driver who's got some big wins on the RaceRoom ranked mode. And yeah, the BMW, it's very fast in the fast corners, but it doesn't have a good traction out of slow corners. It's kind of a boat. It has got high downforce boat, so to say. But yeah, there are a couple of corners on this track, like the bus stop chicane or La Source, where this car is just losing a bit of time.
Not as quite as much of a boat as the car that he was just sat behind there of Dennis Shops in that Boatley. Also being passed as well by Thomas Schultz in the Audi that just got through as well, clearing a little bit of traffic on a lap time. An okay Sector 1, but nothing too major. These two both on outlaps, just trying to cruise their way through. Do like seeing a good old Bentley out on track, and we've got a couple of them. We've got, I think, most of the marks represented. I do like seeing the Callaway. Love a Callaway.
Of course, on RaceRoom we've got like, what is it now, 20 cars in the...
Is it that many?
In the GT3 category, so we're missing the P45 Competizione, for example, the old ones. Not quite competitive on this track. There are certain tracks like Daytona where we might always see a Camaro, for example. But here you need the downforce, you need the cornering ability, and the modern cars are doing a bit better. But that's not the modern Bentley, that's the version from, I think, 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
16 or 17, yeah. I'm not fully sure myself.
That car is very fast on a straight line, and it's got very, very good fuel consumption.
Definitely expecting more of a one-stop strategy then, you'd hope.
Yeah. For Scherps and for Goethe as well, these two in the older car, definitely expecting one-stop strategy.
Not necessarily the fastest in this qualification session at present, is saying way down the order, which, I mean, to be fair, on an order that's got this many cars in it and that's this competitive, let's say this is what the ranking system is. It's trying to put you against drivers of equal stature or as near as makes no difference in it, and so you're racing against top flight drivers, and you've got to perform in the qualifying session. And at the moment for the likes of Goethe, improves by just over a tenth, moves up 3-4 spots, and I think that's the same for pretty much the majority of the grid. Look at how many people are within a second from Marchal in 10th position, and where would it be? It would be Lino down in 29th.
Yeah,
a lot of positions in a second.
Very competitive field here, and we saw our faster server was full. Not sure what we can do to top the Platinum server when we have this event next time.
Diamonds next. 2,000 plus. There'd not be too many people, but then by that point, who knows? Such a talented field these days.
When Clement only got a rating of 1871, yet he's still really competitive here. P4 in the qualifying. Close to Soto, less than 200ths of a second behind him.
I assume probably not done as many races as everyone else and is still getting into the mix, or maybe performs very well at Spa, which is entirely possible. Looking a little bit better here from Isaac Price out of the final corner, then up towards the line with 3 minutes left on the clock. And what is it going to be? It is an improvement, but not quite enough. Dylan position number 2. It's very close though. And Moritz Lerner with a bit of slipstream, although I think that might be just awkwardly placed through Malmedy and down to Rivage. It's a purple sector one, which normally wouldn't really suspect from the Porsche, but you can see here the lap time is going to be drifting away. Does get out of the way on the apex of Rivage, but maybe a little bit too late. We'll have to wait until that second sector split. Of course, with it being in RaceRoom, with it being a 20-minute open session, it does mean that once our timer hits 0, we'll be good to go into a 2 hour and 24-minute race.
Yeah. Just had a question in the chat, is the jump start on? No, on ranked multiplayer the jump start is not on. I think it would be not a good idea to change it now for such a big event. A lot of people wouldn't expect it. You can't jump the start, but still the Porsche should be the favorite at the start here. Moritz Lerner to gain a few positions. P9 in qualifying, that's not where he wants to be, and that's not where he usually is. And you can hear it, how often he has to lift, how much time he's losing in the middle sector with so many fast corners. Still a good time, and the last sector is not bad for the Porsche.
And you've also got to accept it this way. If he improves by, which you suspect he's probably improving in that kind of vein, if he improves by 0.3 of a second, a bit of a lift and a turn in there, it's a bit awkward through Blanchimont, down into the chicane. If he improves by 0.3 of a second, that moves him up onto the second row of the grid. Such a tight field at the moment. Out of the final chicane, what can Moritz Lerner do from 10th position now? Is there going to be a decent improvement? The answer to that will be yes, and it is to 3rd.
Now we've got 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Oh no, we don't,
no,
because Soto does improve.
Excellent lap times coming in the dying moments here, just managing to beat Moritz Lerner and get back onto the second row of the grid. Isaac Price into the final chicane. That's way too deep. Session done from Isaac Price. He's going to practice a pit and entry and make sure you get it pulled down to the speed limiter line at the right point, which is easier said than done.
Neubauer now moving up to P12. Qualifying session is almost over. Jose Luis looks like he's going to take the pole position here.
Yeah, still out on track. You might as well, if you've done a lap time which you think is about as good as it gets, you might as well fill up the car and get back out onto track and just get yourself reacclimatized to the start of the race. With Moritz Lerner, though, you're saying about having a good start. Currently on the second row of the grid as we get our provisional results. I say provisional, there's still 11 seconds left of the race. That's the only reason why it's provisional. With Moritz Lerner from 4th, could he jump up to the race lead? The problem is once you come through La Source, you've got such a long run down to Lake Om.
Yeah, but I think it's possible for him. The Porsche advantage, but still Jose Luis beating the 2 esports drivers here. And
yeah,
I think Soto beats the Lerner, right?
Yeah.
In the end, so P4, could be quite close. Let's see.
We will have to. We've got a 33-car grid here at Spa for the 2.4 hour here. And it's going to be a great race. I'm absolutely sure they'll get themselves ready for it. They're just about to get ready onto that grid. It's going to be a tight affair running into turn 1, isn't it, with such a large grid?
Yeah, it definitely is. It will be very, very close. And then, of course, going through Eau Rouge, when you try to go like 3 wide or something like that, that will be equally difficult.
Someone's going to do it side by side, though. You just know that someone is going to try it. Who will it be? How far back will it be? Will it be for the race lead? Or somewhere a little bit further behind than that? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is to get straight into the racing action. Going to put the time up on the board. 2.4 hours of racing.
We just hear that Soto apparently had a game crash.
Ooh.
That's a shame.
That is a shame. From 4th on the grid as well, 3rd on the grid rather, after doing a fantastic lap to beat Moritz Lerner. The race is about to begin. That is a shame from Javier Soto, but the time is on the clock. The 2.4 hours of Spa is about to get underway here in Race Room. Jose Luis and Isaac Price on the front row of the grid with Moritz Lerner behind, and there goes Moritz Lerner straight over Isaac Price, who had a terrible launch. Jose Luis, though, fantastic stuff, and Isaac Price is being attacked by Juan Clement into turn 1. You can see here all of the action in the mid-pack as everyone's side by side, and this will carry on down the hill as Van der Zijden and Luciano Wittfurt are tight for 5th place back in that pack, but Jose Luis away clear.
Pretty clean start overall. There's a Corvette running wide here. We haven't seen a big crash. Such a shame for Soto. I mean, he was one of the candidates for a podium at least. And the Bentley side by side, but we have to jump to the front when they come up to the braking zone here, and there's a dive from Clement.
That was a proper dive as well from the number 44 Audi as they're trying to just jostle their way in through for track position. Van der Zijden and Luciano Wittfurt being quite close. Here's Juan Clement going for a little bit of an audacious dive, and you can see the tight racing in the background. Rokas to be here trying to get by Gut, also under a lot of pressure from behind, it's safe to say, which I'm pretty sure most of the grid is under.
Yeah, definitely high pressure situation here. We also lost Figueroa. Also couldn't take the start of the race. That's such a shame, of course. And now we have to focus, of course, on those 31 drivers that are remaining. And Luciano Wittfurt, after struggling a long time, setting a qualifying time, he's on his way up. He's looking on the inside of Chris van der Zijden there in the fellow Audi Evo. No way through yet, and you can see how good the BMW is in the corners with Farkas closing right up.
Yeah, maybe you'll be a bit onto something here, because the BMW starting the race in a very, very nice way indeed. Ben Farkas making up a couple of positions up into 7th now and applying pressure to the rear end of Luciano Wittfurt and Van der Zijden as well. Moritz Lerner dropping off from Luis, and that is exactly why Isaac Price finally getting it side by side into Blanchimont, and the 280AC GT Masters drivers just battling it out here for 2nd position. And I think Moritz Lerner, smart driver, going to hang on to 3rd spot for now and just try and use the slipstream, try and save a little bit of fuel side by side between the 2 Dutchmen of Luciano Wittfurt and Chris van der Zijden. The switch for position puts Luciano Wittfurt up inside the top 5, but for how much longer? Because Van der Zijden still at the inside does back out of it, and Ben Farkas is also there to try and fight his way through. They all hold position, and it is gained from Luciano Wittfurt.
Aggressive start for the Ballas Esports driver. He's moving his way up, and it seems like Lerner just doesn't have the right car for this track. Getting passed by Price. That didn't happen yet in the GT Masters, but Price's performance is very impressive with the very heavy Bentley. And then Jose Luis, you know, he sees these esports stars coming into his rank mode where he's leading by almost 100 points. Well, he's still in the lead now.
I still think that Moritz Lerner, he's going to sit here. He's just going to wait and try and go holding onto the back. Mosine and battling it out with Kulas as well. Switch of positions there up to 11th spot, but it's not done yet as they run through Malmedy, and the Mercedes does get ahead, and Gutz is now going to be there to try and dive one as well, with Rokas to be all kind of splitting off the grid in the background. A brush, and that fantastically liveried M6 is now trying to find a way through outside of corner with no name. That one's not really going to work unless you're fully alongside, but the cutback on the run down into P1 is potential for a move. But Moritz Lerner, I was going to say though, he's just going to sit on the back of Isaac Price here. I don't think he's going to try and fight him. He's just going to sit there, conserve a little bit of fuel, as Rokas to be is now going to make the move on the second apex of P1. That one not going to work, and a big snap as well, and a good catch.
And you could see the advantage of the BMW in the Puhon corner there, just using the downforce, but it's, you know, it's not that easy, especially if you're on a low traction control. And he's losing a bit of time keeping his position though. And yeah, Javi Soto also in the chat, such a shame. Can't defend his victory from the Nürburgring race, unfortunately, but the next race will come as well, and I hope until then the problems are fixed, and yeah, he can attack again for the victory. A bit further back, also some good fights, and Markus Grünig, we haven't seen him on the screen at all before, the Swiss driver. One of 2 Swiss drivers on this grid. The Bentley, and here's a good mix of different cars. Oh, and there's a Corvette attacking on the inside. Marco Fosseler. Past Grotte, and in the background Mutui and I think Rocha were also side by side. So plenty of good fights.
Timo was also getting involved in that as well. Everything being very tight, I said, and this is how it's going to go over pretty much the entire race with some of these battles down the order. Marchal trying to get by Kulash as well, and Mozin's lost out a little bit in this fight, and David Marchal, who's looking so good in practice, will want to make something stick here. Luciano Wittfurt getting by Juan Clement as well. This is the battle for 4th position. They're going to go 3 wide down into Les Combes, and the positions are going to be gained.
Oh, he has a slowdown.
Oh, yes, there is a slowdown for Luciano Wittfurt, dropping back into the clutches of Bens Farkas as well. Chris van der Zijden, though, from one Dutchman to another, does gain the spot on Juan Clement, which he'll be then thankful that Luciano Wittfurt had that slowdown penalty, because I'm basing it on the speed that Wittfurt was closing, probably from the cut as well. He was going to lose 2 positions there. You can see how much as well that Isaac Price and Moritz Lerner have closed. That's a little bit wide from van der Zijden, which is not good on the run down the hill towards Pouon. Got to be careful of doing that a few too many times, because it can bite, not only because track limits and stuff, but the curb there is quite large, and if you're running that far out wide, the grass will greet you very quickly.
Juan Clement now has to... That was a late breaking point there from Wittfurt. He's blocking Farkas a bit as a result. And his car is wild. He's going crazy here. Just catching it. But that's what we mentioned before. The Audi, it's fast, but it's also hard to drive.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rub as well, I think, on the second apex at Fagnes, that maybe just unloaded the rear end of Luciano Wittfurt's Audi, but it's certainly not done yet, and Juan Clement is going to come under a fair amount of pressure coming down into the final chicane, a little bit wide there before we enter Blanchimont. A smooth drive though through, and you can see how much the Flying Dutchman is catching bit by bit, not sticking into the slipstream, not going to try and attempt to move down into the chicane, because Juan Clement is going to be trying a move on Chris van der Zijden, and now this is Luciano Wittfurt's attempt to get through, and does so, as does Bens Farkas. A bit of a contact on the exit of the final chicane, and those two are still going to rub each other on the start-finish straight. The BMW trying to go around the outside of the Audi. The superior traction might be better still around the outside on that great exit on the run down the hill. The BMW of Bens Farkas does gain the position, and Juan Clement loses 2 positions in 2 corners.
Action doesn't stop here. Wittfurt now all over the back of van der Zijden immediately.
All this battling's costing them a chance to run for the podium, at least now. We know how these races can unfold very, very quickly as well. Thomas Schultz is going to try and gain a position as well. Juan Clement just a little bit behind. Wittfurt doesn't gain it. Clement defending hard, and Marchal as well, also gaining a position on David Kulash.
Crazy action here. Let's just maybe take a look at the scene that started it all. We have the replay here at the bottom right.
Yeah, this was the 3 wide and then slow down. We didn't quite know it at this point, but a slowdown penalty for Luciano Wittfurt, and you can see they're just backing out, and the position was gained from van der Zijden on just a tight one. Clement just... This is a slipstream. Clement just wasn't quick enough off of La Source. You had that slowdown penalty from Wittfurt, but even then it was not great, and van der Zijden just flew through with a double slipstream.
Yeah, opportunistic driving from the Dutchman up to P4, chasing down these P3, but it seems like the P3 guys here, they've got a little bit of a gap over the rest of the field so far. Yeah, well, I think Clement has been off. Where's Clement?
Oh, there he is in the middle. Oh, right in the middle of the pack, and going for a spin around as well, trying to get back to him. And there he is, and look at how many positions he has lost. 24th position. He is also going to lose as Hennig comes through. The Bentley of Grunig is also going to come through. That's just terrible shame from Clement.
Dropping all the way down the order. A little bit of clean air now, though, for Wittfurt behind him, so he can focus on Chris van der Zijden.
every time we run down, and obviously it is how it is coming down to that chicane, but you can see how many positions have changed on our tower every single time. We are 10 minutes into this race and positions are still being changed thick and fast, and that's exactly what we'd expect. These two battling it out, Luciano Wittfurt and Van der Zijden battling it out over 4th position at present, 5 seconds off of the rear end of Moritz Lerner and Isaac Price. Was quite right about Moritz Lerner, who's just sat on the back end of Isaac Price, hasn't tried anything all the way through the race. He's just basically sat there using the slipstream, saving a little fuel, and using him to pull away from the chasing pack. It's one of those beautiful things you can do in GT racing here at Spa. David Machau now gaining the position as he's battling it out with Kulash, and Rokas to be a massive part of this battle as well. Said he wouldn't have been too happy with qualifying, down in about 15th, 16th spot, now just on the cusp of the bottom end of the top 10. But look at the train in the rear. Oh, it was a little bit wide there as well, as Gute is going to gain the position on the Callaway. I mean, it's just one of those things of Malmedy. It's so easy to run wide there. You just lulled into it.
Exactly. But it's impressive from these drivers that they all managed to stay on the road. Seen an accident, of course, from Clement before. I think we lost Mousine from the race. He's retired as well, but that's a pretty low retirement rate for, considering how frantic the start of the race was.
I think Lino and Hennig, by the way, battling out over 25th spot. They are doing that side-by-side through Pouon. There we have it. And there is Hennig. There is Lino on the outside. Doesn't gain the position, though, but I do like seeing a good attempt of side-by-side action through Pouon. I said it will probably see it a few times this race. It's one of those things at Spa. You get those random bits. It's more so the inside line where you're going to make a move around there. But, some people are braver than others.
With a bit of a moment there, Richard behind him has to defend against Carretero, one of the Mercedes drivers. I'm not sure even where to look. Maybe here, maybe at Wittfurt. He's not quite going for the move yet. Maybe Rokas de B will be more brave. He's got the outside against Kulas. It is possible to pass around the outside here. Kulas is just braking a little bit too late.
Go for the undercut as well through the final part of it, and look at the drive off from that BMW. It's going to be fantastic. We've seen Rokas de B try that move, also saw it from Benz Farkas earlier, going around the outside of La Source, and Rokas de B is going to give this one a go, but again just trying to go for the undercut. And the thing is it's just risky because the Mercedes might just get a cut back on the inside. They're going to go side by side down the hill. Oh well, we were wondering if we were going to get it at this point. Is Rokas de B going to give it a go into Eau Rouge? Yes, he certainly is. They are going to be side by side, well over the curve. There's going to be contact between the two, and somehow Kulas is going to hold on the position, but for how much longer, as Gute is going to come through here, slipstream on the rear end of the Mercedes, but smart driving from David Kulas, who's given a bit of slipstream to Rokas de B and trying to find a way through Neubauer.
Oh, crazy racing here, still side by side. What an awesome moment there with Kulas and the B side by side in Eau Rouge. That can go wrong. Real Motorsports, super dangerous corner, of course. In the sim racing, you can't get hurt, but you can still throw your race away. And these two, very lucky, but also actually pretty fair and skillful driving there from both of them to get through.
As an FYI, by the way, Moritz Lerner, I believe, has had a slowdown penalty because it's now up to a 3-second gap off the rear end of Isaac Price. Potentially there was a mistake in there as well, but you don't tend to see too many mistakes of the German. But this is a lifeline to the likes of Van der Zijden and Luciano Wittfurt for their chances of a podium, because they'll feel that they can catch that Porsche now. It's not latched onto the rear end of Isaac Price's Bentley, but at the front of the field, as it has been since the very start of the race, Jose Luis just absolutely dominating right now. But you have to say, Isaac Price is looking pretty good. If there's no mistakes, if there's a bit of strategy masterclass as well from a driver who's well accustomed to this Bentley, you've got to say Isaac Price is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, yes indeed. And maybe he can't go for the one stop after all, but what he can definitely do is he can refuel less.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a very good chance of winning the race here.
Yeah, the one stop might be a little bit too brave. It's once again side by side to another famous corner. David Kulas and Rokas de B as well. Once again trying to make it, this time around the outside. Is he going to back out of it again? Does Rokas de B? No, this time he is committing to it. There's a little bit of a brush between them, and Rokas de B does gain the position on the Mercedes of David Kulas as well. That's exactly what you were talking about a lap ago. Oh, look at this from Goot as well. Oh, to the outside, going through La Source as well. You've got Neubauer as well. Part of this, a little bit of contact from the Dutchman and potentially might lose a position to the German in the Audi behind. There's going to be more side-by-side up towards Eau Rouge, and Kulas has lost out to Rokas to be, but thankfully not to everyone else. There is going to be side-by-side. They're committed to it, and once again over the crest, we see more drivers going through side-by-side and keeping it ahead. Luciano Wittfurt gains position for fourth on Chris van der Zijden.
Not sure where to look at the moment.
Fantastic
still
stuff.
Going crazy here. Then now the Corvette getting involved. Krivy as well in the Porsche.
Vasegi Nodge trying to gain the position, but getting the cutback from Neubauer and going to hold the position. Weiweg, though, did gain the, or did nearly gain the position on the Mercedes, but has gained a few through all of that. Like I said, there's just so much action to look at in this. I don't even know where to start. Kravy's gained a lot of positions from the rear end of the grid up into 16th in that Porsche. There was background behind that between Pavlicek and Schwartz as well. It's just absolutely crazy.
And it's not over yet. Neubauer was looking again. Let's see what Pavlicek does. He's clear now of Schwartz, at least for one corner. And you were right that the front, something happened to Van der Zijden, because he didn't only lose the position against Wittfurt, but he also lost the place to Ben Farkas.
Yeah, I think potentially a slowdown penalty in that sort of region. The position was dropped between Wittfurt and Van der Zijden. The switch happened into Les Combes. It might have been a slowdown penalty from Van der Zijden running over the top at Radion, which may well have just dropped him into the clutches of those behind. That's the difficult thing of Radion. You're always on a knife's edge.
I think that's part of the fascination of the track, that these corners are really, really, you know, getting the best out of you.
Certainly is. Matulan on the rear end of Grota down the order, home track, home soil. I think the only Belgian that we've got on the grid is Van der Zijden, once again battling out with Ben Farkas. And are we going to see another bit of side-by-side down into a region? I didn't think we were going to see it this many times in the opening 20 minutes of the race, but once again, is Van der Zijden going to back out? Yes, he does. Doesn't fancy the attempt to side-by-side. Will sit in the slipstream of that big M6 and try and make a move down into Les Combes, but once again, Luciano Wittfurt has just been able to close away, and Moritz Lerner and all of that's also been able to pull away. Clearly it must have been a slowdown rather than any sort of major issue. Van der Zijden not able to make a move stick. You can see as well Machuca and Schultz very, very close behind this in that Callaway versus Audi battle. It's nice to see different brands battling with each other as well. It's not just a train of Audis fighting out for the same kind of positions where everything's status quo. We're seeing drivers having to work out the advantages of other cars and how to get through.
Yeah, it's Audi, Porsche, Bentley and BMW and Corvette in the top 10, so five different manufacturers, 6 different cars because it's 2 different Audis, and then the 2 Mercedeses are just changing positions right behind Kulas and Goit, 2 different Mercedeses as well, so seems like a pretty good mix of cars here. And then of course the old Bentley with the fuel advantage, still a bit further back, but their advantage still comes, right?
Vasegi Nodge, by the way, and Neubauer just behind this 14th position. They are going to go side by side as dropping a position, or trying to get a part of it rather, is Ville Krivy. Trying for the Finn to do the honours for the lone Finn on the grid, and that position was not gained from Neubauer from Vasegi Nodge. Vasegi Nodge was just a little bit too wide running through corner with no name, and just basically dropped into the clutches of the Audi behind. Another look at that fantastic side-by-side action between Kulas and Rokas to be. Absolutely phenomenal. That is top level stuff, and Keith also being a part of it. I said it was excellent defence from Kulas, like I said, giving slipstream to Rokas to be, because he was a little bit slower and wanted to leave them side by side running into Les Combes. It's absolute genius at play.
Great stuff, and more great stuff coming here. Krivy, bit of a brake advantage in his car, going around the outside of Pavlicek. Well, Pavlicek under attack immediately.
Yeah, Roka also in there. It's just every time you go for a move, there was an Audi out in the background. I'm not sure which one that would have been. There's so many. It might have been Lino, to be perfectly honest. But when you're trying to make a move, as there's a bit of contact as well from Andre Rocha, it's you go for a move, it doesn't work, And lo and behold, someone is looking down your inside to try and make it stick. This time for the someone who doesn't have that issue. It's Chris van der Zijden as he's going to make a move on Farkas. It did happen into Lecom. It was just a lap later than we were kind of expecting. And 20 minutes completed in this race. And Chris van der Zijden gets himself back inside the top 5. That battle is absolutely not done. Nor is the battle for the race lead, by the way. It is coming down bit by bit. Isaac Price, 1.7 seconds. I've seen it more up towards 1.9 and 2. I know it obviously fluctuates across the lap, but to say that he's holding firm at that stable level is a good sign for the Englishman. I'll say Brit because I think he's actually Welsh.
Here we can see the gap between Lewis and Price on your screen. And Price, of course, he doesn't have many ranked races. It's pretty fresh to this mode. He's got his experience from esports competitions. Not only on RaceRoom, but he is, of course, a driver in the GT Masters Esports Championship. It's going up against the current king of the rank mode, José Luis, almost 100 points ahead of the next driver.
Now, Isaac Price is a free agent in the world of sim racing. I think he's worked with a few other teams. I think he's worked with Williams quite a bit, but hasn't been picked up by them, as far as my knowledge is. Is it time that a team's looking at Isaac Price, thinking we should probably pick up a driver of this talent? And it's races like this where it's a good time to put your mark out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw Isaac Price in the MRS competition earlier, where, some people joined the MRS team, like Attila Dina or Matija Markovic, for example, and he actually won the race there. But then he didn't join the team, so I'm not sure if he really wants to join the team at the moment, or if he's just enjoying driving lots of races as an independent.
It's one of those things where I don't even know where the next step would be. He's been a part of so many teams in sim racing. Was in X for a while. Was part of Core Sim Racing as when we did the that event at the Nürburgring in 2018. Was a part of Fernando Alonso G2 Racing as well, which now they're partnered. G2 are partnered with BMW as well as being partnered with Red Bull Racing. So much happens in the sim racing stratosphere, and we'll refocus on this race as once again Neubauer and Noj going to go side by side, but Neubauer does back out of it, so isn't fancying attempting it like everyone else has been giving it a good go.
No, he's backing out of it so far. The race is still long.
Yeah.
Don't have to race that hard. Machuca and Schulz are racing hard. A bit of contact there. Machuca coming a bit across the line of Schulz.
Those two have been battling out for quite a while already, which again is expected. You're going to be sat with everyone, especially when you pass someone around here. Because of the slipstream, the likelihood is you'll sit on the rear end. Neubauer does actually gain the position on Notch as we focus a little bit further down on Pavlicek, and Grunig is going to try and go around the outside, but it's Gruota who's coming under the pressure and under the fire of the pole Pavlicek, and the move doesn't happen. There's a bit of a Bentley train in the middle. We've got the older Bentley at the front of it and two of the newer ones behind, and it's all looking pretty tight. And you've got Timo as well on the rear end of that train. I think it was Timo who had a bit of a moment coming out of the final chicane. This battle is incredibly tight, though. Look at the gaps, because if you look at Shops, who's a little bit clear of it. Then you go back down to Vosler, who's right at the head of this train in that Callaway. Then you've got the three Bentleys. You've got the Audi of Lino. You've got Vegerik in the Callaway, as well as Carretero on the rear end, and Hennig as well.
Yeah, the field's still pretty close. The only one who dropped back a little bit is Amradrea, spinning the wheel here in 30th position. When we just moved away from Lino and Vichorik, passing each other, I think. Might have been the ping. Vichorik, of course, racing from the United States. Bit of a higher ping than all the other drivers on the server.
No, I think that was a position gain. Yeah, because I think Vichorik has gained that spot. Because I'm distinctly remembering that Lino was right on the rear end of the Bentleys, and now Vichorik is also going to go for another move. But Lino fancies a dive around the outside, get into the inside and into the pit lane. Pavlicek, one of the first to bite a couple of drivers, heading down pit lane straight away. There is Pavlicek in pit lane. And will be the first one to be served. Is that, I'm assuming that is just pit lane service rather than a penalty. Not seeing anything pop up on that side of things, but it does seem to drive all the way through. No, he is going to pit.
That is a surprising strategy, though, from Pavlicek. Let's see how this works out. Because the race hasn't been going for such a long time. Just under the 2-hour mark now.
Yeah, very odd as Weiwig and Kulas switch positions. Kulas has been going backwards quite a bit in this race. No disrespect to him. It does seem like the Mercedes hasn't really worked out. So maybe my choice of car wasn't really the good one. We lose them in the trees, and Vyshegi Nodge, Neubauer, Rocher as well, all battling it over this. And Clement on the rise back up the order. You can see him on the rear end there of Cravey. So working some decent progress, trying to go around the outside. Oh, look at that from Clement. That's going straight on. There was no way that was making the racetrack. And Matul is also going to gain the position back on Clement, who's done, to be honest, quite a decent job to work his way back a part of this train, but that's not great.
No, P90 now for him, and could have been P17. Just waited a little bit longer. I think he's got a quite clear pace advantage here. It won't be long until he catches up to Matul again. It's never so easy to pass, even if the track, you know, actually when you compare all the tracks, then this is one of the tracks where it's the easiest to pass.
Yeah.
And that's why it's also picked very often for races in the sim racing world. Tomorrow, of course, Cupra Sim Racing Series at the same track. 2 sprint races, make sure to tune in also on the YouTube channel of RaceRoom.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be us two in the commentary booth. We're having a bit of fun as Kulas once again dropping a position. Rocher coming through. Vyshegi Nodge as well as we're going side by side up towards Blanchimont. Too deep as well as gaining a position. Cravey gets one on Kulas as well, and a little bit of a hit on the curb. And the BMW of Matul also might be through. A little bit of a brush between the Mercedes of Kulas, trying to get back a part of it. And there goes the spin. We were wondering if something like this was going to happen. All get rotated round. It's absolutely fine. Cravey only loses a position to Clement and all that lot as well. And a few pitters in the background just trying to get out of this frantic action.
Yeah, Fossler is coming in now. Yeah, it's still action all over the place. Clement now this time makes the move stick against Kulas. And Moturi, I think, gained a lot of places out of all of this.
How do you pick all of this apart? It's so crazy. In the mid-pack, it's absolutely insane. It's fantastic stuff. It's just where it's almost like you're racing in the Daytona 500. There's that much side-by-side. Speaking of that, we're going to see more of it as Cravey's been a little bit wide over Radion, but has gained the speed.
Kulas got a high ping as well.
Yeah, I was going to say there looked like a little bit of a connection issue there from the Mercedes. You could see it there just darting around a little bit. The Pole just struggling a little bit on connection, might be adding to the pace issues as Carretero and Hennig battling it out over 24th spot at present.
Oh, and we've got news here at the front.
Oh, gone. Yeah, I was going to say it's 1 second now.
Under 1 second.
Interesting. It's been ebbing and flowing quite a bit. I think it's been going down more in the region to Isaac Price in his Bentley, but Luis has just had enough of a response to manage to keep the gap around a second, to not let it drop. The thing is, as we all kind of know from this type of stuff, closing the gap, you know, obviously the whole closing is one thing and then passing is another, although around here at Spa I actually think it's very much the other way round. Once you get within that sort of 1 second, 3/4 of a second bubble, you're just pulled up to the back of that car with relative ease. Isaac Price is back with Clement and Matul as well, battling out of the 16th spot. But yeah, once you're in that gap, it makes things a lot easier to catch.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the top speed advantage between Price and Lewis should actually go to Lewis.
Right. We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah. Of course, the tyre wear is still a factor. We have had Fossler now in the pits as well.
Not the highest tyre wear circuit in the world, though. It's not, I mean, don't get me wrong, you've got the middle section, but where you're burning the fronts out a little bit, but then you've only got really a couple of corners where you're burning the rears. Realistically speaking, it's not the most insanely tyre, it's not an abrasive surface either, so you can kind of just keep the speed up nicely without worrying about burning the tyres out. I think he's actually dropped a lap down there as well. Oh, no, it was Pavlicek coming through, never mind. Schultz and Machuca battling out of a 7th spot, as they have been for a fair while. So these battle packs have been keeping together. And by the way, the two Dutchmen closing in a little bit ahead of this, as Luciano Wittver and Van der Zijden are getting a little bit closer once again for 4th spot and bringing Bence Farkas with them as well. And to be fair, these two aren't too far off. You can see Farkas as well diving it in the background there through Pouon, so there's not the largest disparity between those, and especially when it comes to the pit window, which realistically speaking we're kind of in, but it's such an open window that we don't really have an answer as to how long it is. There's no requirement to come in now. They can go for a good while, realistically speaking. Of course, if we're talking of the one stop, we're more expecting to come in around about 52 minutes time. Not necessarily sure how many people are actually going to be trying anything like a one stop, but I think most people will be locked on a 2. And in that scenario, Rob, are you better off pitting at equal intervals, or are you trying something a bit more frantic to get a bit more of an advantage later on?
Well, I think it could work that you don't pit in equal intervals, because you might want to avoid changing tires at one of the pit stops.
Right.
The tires on these cars are pretty strong. They do go down into the yellow area for sure if you double stint them. But if one stint is very short, it could work.
It's kind of one of those things. God, look at how much speed Clement had on Vershegi Nodge there, and then darting out, was trying to get to the inside of the Hungarian, but wasn't able to do so. And that was a proper send around the outside. I think that's what he was trying to do at Rivage, and then comes across the nose of the Callaway as well on the exit of the chicane. It's going to allow Matul as well to be a part of the battle. Clement, though, that was a bold move from a driver as he comes across the nose of the Callaway, and both of them somehow stay on the racetrack.
Clement moving up another place on his recovery run here. Remember, he was right in the fight with Farkas, with Van der Zijden in the beginning of the race. Well, I think Machuca made a mistake. He's been passed by Thomas Schulz.
But it can't have been a big mistake in the sense that they are still together. So if there was one, I don't think it would be too major. Speaking of battling, though, as Gut and Vioeg are going to battle it out over 11th spot at the moment. It's not quite as good as Gut would have wanted a bit earlier in the race when he was up involved in that battle. As here we've got a spin from Matul, the home track for the Belgian. That is certainly not where it would be. I'm going to assume it could have been a solo attempt. But I'm going to make a wild assumption and suggest that might have been assisted.
He was very close to Notch and Crivey, but we can't look back, unfortunately, at the scene. We can only show the replay of what we actually saw. No way to see that again. Either way, Motul is still in the race, but down to P27.
I think that gap for the lead is holding a bit more within the 1 second bubble for Isaac Price. He's closing it. See ya, never mind. That is growing from the 1 second. That was a bold attempt from Isaac Price, but certainly not a good one. And all of that hard work to close it down into a second. Good time to cut back to him. Is not gone, but he would have lost a good half second there.
Yeah, he's lucky if he didn't get a slowdown as well.
Yeah. He has got a slowdown. He's not taking it yet, and like, let's be honest. If you had a slowdown, you'd want to take it before you got to La Source, because you don't want to take it here because it will cost you so much time. That said, is dropping a little bit, but then that could be the straight line speed as well of the Audi punching a bit less of a hole in the air, so it has to move a little bit less. Although,
and also the weight on the Bentley.
Right. Such a big car. I mean, I know it's a slowdown. No, I think if he had one, he's already dealt with it, which would have been very quick. I don't think he got one. I think he got away with it. I mean, he lost quite a bit of time anyway. He lost half a second in himself, so I'd say it's pretty fair as it is. Bit of a wake-up call to Isaac Price. I think that's what it really is. If he wants to win this race, can't be making too many mistakes like that. But we certainly have a 2-horse race. You can see there just absolutely overdid it on the brakes. It obviously wasn't trying to make a move there. It was way too far back, but was just trying so hard to catch the Spaniard that's leading this race. And just one of those things where you have that thing of, okay, that was a little bit too hard. Let's reevaluate the situation and bring it back in. And you can see there the gap as well, starting to hover around that 1.3 second gap where it was a few laps ago, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but the race is still long. Yep. I think after the first pit stop cycle, we will know a lot more when it comes to who realistically has a chance to win the race. We know a little bit from the Audi that it's not the most fuel-saving car. We know from the Bentley that it is. We don't know anything about the Porsche because, quite frankly, no one drove the Porsche in the last races at Spa because it's, you know, it doesn't have a reputation of being very fast around here. So who knows how long Lerner can go.
I mean, I don't know if Lerner knows how long he can go. He's just driving around. He's got a lot of experience in that car, though, so they are one and the same, just been driving around by himself. It is great to see him, by the way, and of course it does come from the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship and stuff. It's one of those things that we've spoken about quite a bit recently of, we've got it in the Cooper Sim Racing Series, we've got it in a couple of other things where it's having team liveries, having custom liveries on the service is great to see. It's nice to see Dura Esports being represented here, the team that Moritz Lerner joined a few months ago now, and has settled in very nicely indeed.
He's in stunning form in the GT Masters Esports Championship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think over 50 points lead over Keithley. I think pretty good for him.
Yeah.
And in this race, he's kind of alone at the moment as well. We will definitely see some lap traffic, I think, towards the end of the race.
I don't even think we're that realistically that far away, especially with the pit stop sequence started by some drivers, and it's going to drop them back into it if Luis and Price and Lerner and that, if they all go quite far into this race. Although realistically speaking, we've already completed quite a lot of it, so we're not. It's not insanely far away from the pit lane sequence for some of these, even if they're going super long. We're still not that far away. Cravey, though, going for it. Timo into the pit lane. I think that's for the second time, though, and there is a lot of damage on the rear end of that Audi.
Yeah, it looked like he reversed into a pole or something like this.
Yeah.
Very curious type of damage. Like, how can a car hit him to get this damage?
Very hard. Very specifically as well. I mean, to be fair, if it was in that sense, if it was an angle, at the right angle going into a corner, the 90-degree corner on a car, going straight into that spot, maybe that's about it.
I'm just thinking of I don't know if you know, the photograph from Alexander Wurz in Formula 1 at Canada, where he's like flying on the side of his car. That could also lead to that kind of dent. And the way Lino's still going, but he's down to last position now. And he's coming out of the pit lane. Oh, and there are the leaders. That's Price.
Yeah, I was going to say, lap down, surely. But there's a big bit of space here between Isaac Price and Moritz Lerner. It's to the tune of about 10 seconds. So has plenty of air just to get up to speed. And even if Lerner catches, it's Lerner and then another 5-second gap. It's Vitford, and then it gets a little bit more claustrophobic. Not too bad, but you've got Vitford, Van der Zijden and Farkas all by 5 seconds between them, and then again another big gap. So it's not looking so bad if you're going to be a back marker at present. And Weiweg and Neubauer battling out from 12th once again. Gooch has managed to pull away from this battle, and I would be a little bit concerned about the fast Spaniard behind of Clement, who is catching very, very quickly indeed.
Yeah, let's just go on board with Clement and see how fast he can catch up. Sven Vivek got a bit of esports experience as well, particularly in like grid 2 or 3, I think. Quite active on the rank mode and doing a good job defending against Neubauer. Clement, that should be just in the track limits. Catching up, and it's helping him, of course, that ahead of him Neubauer and Vivek are battling.
If they're switching, that doesn't help him. If they're going to switch like that, that's absolutely perfect for them, because it's like a team time trial or something at the velodrome in cycling where they're switching constantly and stuff. In that sense, you generally go faster. Obviously, you're still punching a pretty big hole in the air, but if you're not impeding each other, it works. Although it's when you leave it side by side through Les Combes that the driver we're on board with, Clement, is just going to gain hand over fist. I mean, he's still gaining hand over fist at the moment because he's out of position. He shouldn't be down in 14th. We saw him earlier well up inside the top 10 and know how good Clement is. At least here at Spa, we've seen very good things in qualifying and in the earlier stage of the race, and it's that spin coming out of campus that cost him. And yeah, we'll have a little bit of the red mist. We'll be desperate to respond, and is responding very well.
Yeah, doing a good job on this recovery drive. I think next lap he will be close enough to Vivek to start an attack. I don't think he can catch up here on the straight, but of course we are racing with open setup, so the top speed difference doesn't only depend on the car, but also on the setup you put, the ride height, the wing, maybe also how stiff the dampers and the springs are set. He's catching up a bit, but not close enough to go for a move here.
No.
Oh, what happened to Price? Over 2 seconds now.
I think it's been building up again. I don't think this is a single mistake. I did see it around the 1.9 second margin. It's obviously, it's one of those things with time gaps between them. They do ebb and flow quite a lot, but it is now heading more the way of the Spaniard. Maybe Isaac Price just pushed a little bit too hard and is just bringing it back in. Because there you go, it's a few second gaps. So it's potentially lost upwards of the region of around about a second from that mistake, and then a little bit afterwards. We've completed 40 minutes through because there's so many cars are part of this train after such a long period of time, and that's lovely to be a part of. And you think, oh, I'm going to be a part of this battle all the way through the race. You can see it goes all the way up to Kulas in that Merc that's been sort of dropping back and having a bit of internet connective issues in 18th spot, but that's the goal now, is to get by him at the front.
Yeah, for sure. And now we also get into the stage of this race where you could think about making a pit stop.
Oof,
bit of a look there from Henning.
Yeah, Vajaric was very, very defensive though. It's kind of a bit of a late move, a bit of a reactive defence rather than proactive, but nothing major happened between the two of them, so it's all's fair. Yeah, it's all good. Fourth position, by the way, is getting close. It's not there at the moment, but it is getting close once again between Van der Zijden and Luciano Wittfurt, keeping our eye on that gap as well. It's about a second now between them two. And we saw that battle fantastically earlier on in the race. And I think we might well see it once again, although you will see the gap between Benz Farkas being a bit bigger this time. So the BMW just not able to keep up with the two Audis ahead. Look at how much gravel they're picking up. That was so wide. Yeah, right.
This corner as well, but this corner the track limits are a bit tighter. On the one before you can basically run up right to the gravel and it's still legal. So it can happen very quickly. Let's see if Carretero is going on an attempt here. Should have the slipstream, but because Hennig also has the slipstream himself, we'll be gaining that much time. Same story with the Mercedes is like with the Audi. A bit faster on the straight line, the older model, a bit worse in the corners though. Ooh, and he's trying around the outside. But no chance here.
That was a bit of a bold attempt, but you've got to give it a go every now and then. It didn't work out, wasn't quite there alongside. I'm pretty sure, was that the one that I drove in? I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't.
I think it was.
It might well have been. It was a long time ago. Mine.
Yeah,
I really like the
that livery as well.
I really like the Mercedes. I think it's just it's a nice car to drive. It helped me out a little bit, but it's just it punches a good hole.
Yeah, last year it was the best car in the GT Masters Esports Championship. Löhner won the title last year in that car.
Oh, Neubauer, that is bold, and it's not going to work out. Gut is going to gain the position back, and guess who wants to see that? Clement, though, he spun around again. It was a little bit too aggressive trying to get to the inside of Neubauer. He's going to reverse straight onto the racing line. That was crazy. So lucky for Kravi to come through. That's not as lucky, though. That is not as lucky. And unfortunately, Kulas is going to lose so much in that, and once again spinning back across the track. Oh, there's going to be more as... Oh, that was so close from Batul as well coming through. Not the greatest rejoin that I've ever seen in my life. We'll go with that, shall we?
Oi, oi, oi. I think Clement, he's got big damage there. But you can't do that. You have to look in your mirrors. You have to look... I don't know, just use the crew chief or... maybe you have a on the Otterhut, I think you can have like a Heli tool where you can see it, or you can just change the camera, and then you can avoid that. Like, this is very frustrating because he didn't only hurt his own race, he also hurt Kulas.
And badly as well.
And Muturi as well. Yeah, Kulas, big damage there. Just here, great news. We've got a new record on the rank mode. 351 players. Not sure if that was the best advertising for it, though. What just happened here?
No, that was not ideal. I mean, it happens. Obviously, you know, when you've had an incident, you want to get back going quite fast. But if we had live race control, I'm pretty sure they'd throw the rule book there a little bit from Clement. Not the ideal rejoin, but we'll get back to the good stuff. Though was we've got a bit of a move there from Grunig on Grotta, and also as well, Veserik is going to be a part of it, and going to try and weigh it up around the outside into the pit lane in the background. I think that might have been Kulas as well to repair some of that car. You've got the Callaway diving it to the inside as well. Hennig and Corotero. This battle, whilst it has removed a couple of cars, it's still a good battle.
Yeah, such a shame for Kulas. He had a good race.
Yeah.
The race is still going on here. Christian Grotte from Norway. Only Norwegian driver on the grid. He has to defend in the heavy Bentley. He can only gain places in this race over the strategy. On the inside now, Wieczorek from the USA. Trying it, but not quite making it stick.
That's the outside line of Lecom, though. If you can stick it around the outside, it just gives you the inside for the next part. And it's at that point you're not really expected to hold it around the outside there and give it the inside of Malmedy. So realistically speaking, you kind of want to be a bit more careful than that. And doing a great job in defence is Christian Grotte.
Good racing here indeed.
I've always said this with this kind of stuff. When you look on like the leaderboard and stuff, and obviously with the Spaniards, they're all now racing for Soto. You know, they want to race, they want to perform and do their nation proud. And I know it's not a major thing, but realistically speaking, when you see like such an international grid, and we've only got, for example, a couple of Hungarians, you've got, like, say, the local Norwegian, a couple of Swiss drivers and stuff. We'll take a look again at the rejoin there, and unfortunately it's not a pretty sight. But you want to do well for your country, you want to represent, and so for, you know, like Isaac Price for Great Britain being up there, it's not a major thing. You want to represent your name anyway, but it's always one of those things that I was scrolling down, it's like, well, at least I'm the top Brit or something like that, you know.
Yeah, of course, it's a good competition. Of course, being the top Spaniard is kind of hard with Lewis in the race. Oh, and look at this. Got all under pressure there. Oh, contact between the Mercedes in the background.
Yeah, a little bit tight there. By the way, into the pit lane as Matul also comes into the pit lane. Bent Farkas has been into the pit lane from 6th spot. There's the dive from Hennig, or from Shops rather, on Grunig. Rather, Hennig being a little bit further down in this train on the rear end of the three people. We've got a bit of a split here, though, in this group. As you can see, Vajerik and Corotero, Hennig on the rear three of this group, as seeing the move from Rocha on Cravey in that Porsche does gain the position in that all-black Callaway, carbon Callaway. The Callaway's a bit of a contentious one as to the inside goes Cravey, but I'm not going to commit to that one, although it's a little bit deep from Rocha. I know a lot of people don't like the rear wing on the Callaway, but I actually really do.
Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah.
I don't think I never really noticed it before, to be honest. I don't think it really looks that bad.
I really like the Callaway. I think it's a great looking car.
Especially the rear lights are pretty nice on this car. Let's see if you can get some more. Crivey needs to catch up a little bit. One of these GT3 cars that's not raced in many championships.
Yeah,
it's developed by Callaway, which is a German racing team, but they also do a lot of other things for Corvettes. So primarily in the GT Masters, they won the championship a couple of times with Daniel Kalvitz behind the wheel. Daniel Kalvitz, one of these RaceRoom VIP drivers, by the way. Moritz Löhner now, of course, also has his own VIP account now that he's a real racing driver. Yeah, Callaway, strong car, strong in the straight, especially losing a bit in the corners. Not compared to the Porsche, really, but definitely compared to Bentley or BMW and also Audi. And Rocha, the Portuguese, doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so, indeed. By the way, there is Ben Farkas out of the pit lane, obviously way down the order, but
and look how close,
he's lost.
Look how close Fossler is to him.
Yeah, I was going to say he's lost the position to Pavlicek, who was one of the first into the pit lane. Obviously, Pavlicek wouldn't have taken that much fuel, so that's kind of a bit of a part of it. We're in this kind of two-stop pit window kind of area where everything's a little bit, like I say, it's a bit murky. It's a bit we're in the unknown. Is that you can pit early, take only a little bit of fuel, and then get back out on track, gain some early track positions as Neubauer and Gut are going to switch positions here, and the speed of the Audi going to go up inside the top 10 at least for now, but pit window beckoning realistically speaking. Isaac Price, by the way, has closed in a little bit on Luis at the front of the grid, and those two Dutchmen that I've been talking about a little bit, I've been keeping my eye on that about. Still not actually happened. They're keeping pretty much bang on a second apart.
Yeah, maybe they really want to decide over the strategy because they don't really know what Lerner's going to do. But Lerner now 12 seconds back to Price.
I wonder what would have happened if Lerner didn't drop off 2 seconds on that lap. Would he have been able to keep up with Price, I wonder? Potentially so. But I'm not sure. It's a big gap.
Yeah, and it's hard to drive this pace in the Porsche, I think, on this track.
See the large damage there on the front of David Kulash in that Mercedes. It is an awful lot of damage, which I'm sure he'll be not very pleased about, and rightfully so. Roland Sen on the rear end of Pavlicek, and that is because Pavlicek has got through on Roland Sen. Again, these two on differing strategy. I don't think Roland Sen's been into the pit lane, and Pavlicek has been. The highest place, I think the highest place Swiss driver, because I think it was up in third when we did the Nürburgring 2.4 hours, Drovosekov, who's seventh, I think, on the rankings I was reading earlier. Swiss represented it quite well in racing competition then. Yeah,
we've got Grünig as well in this race, of course. Roland Sen, I should say. He's one of these drivers who's a big fan of the WTCR cars. So that's where we normally see him, in the Hyundai especially. In the Audi, no Hyundai available, of course, in the GT3 category. So he has to go with an Audi. Doing pretty good job so far. Back to Cravey and Rocha, though, because they're coming side by side down to Eau Rouge.
And another one. We've seen this 3, 4, 5 times today. Cravey's going to back out of it this time. I don't think we're going to see it too many more, at least not until the latter stages of the race. Backing out of it is Cravey to do one very specific thing, and that's to try and slingshot his way past the Callaway, although the straight line speed of the Porsche just not there in comparison to the punchy Callaway. It got a good run in the hands of Rocha up through Radion and down the Kemmel Straight, and it was just able to hang on. Cravey obviously having to back out a little bit, and yeah, not great, not bad, perfectly fine. But the Porsches, as you say, they are the total unknown in this. They're the ones that we weren't really expecting, and of the two Porsches, they're actually both doing quite well.
Yeah, but I think Cravey, he's doing quite well considering he's in the Porsche, but he's one of these drivers where, you know, looking at his rating, looking at his experience, might expect him to be a little bit higher normally. Yeah, I wonder what we'd see if it was in a slightly different car. But it's also that Lerner and Cravey, they always drive the Porsche, so yeah, it's just the car that they normally pick. It's like you say, you just get comfortable in that car. You know that car in and out, and so you know you take the highs with the lows. It works on some. Moritz Lerner, by the way, is into the pit lane, and so will drop down your order. This is deep in the 2-stop window. This is where we're at now. So all the drivers coming in now are 2-stopping. The expectation is the majority of the field will come in for a 2-stop, and Moritz Lerner into the pit lane now. There is Clement out of the race and in chat, unfortunately. Yeah, Clement just apologized for this incident. So yeah, next time, of course, can come back, and maybe it will work out better for him, because he definitely showed the potential, but also showed how it can go wrong. And now John Wieczorek, the American, with a few fans in the chat as well. Still in a battle. And Price... Did Price enter the pit lane? Because he just dropped down to 2 seconds again. I don't think he has.
No, I think it's just a delta being all over the place between those two. It's kind of hovering around. It was around 1.3, maybe another mistake from Isaac Price. It's back out to around about 2 seconds as Wieczorek, rightly said, right in the midst of this battle. There's quite a few drivers, I think, are in the pit lane. There's Corotero as well. There's Moritz Lerner. Is he going to come out ahead of this train? It's going to be tight. I think the Bentley of Shops might be trying to get through, but Moritz Lerner leaving in the middle of the track, and that's important for his race a bit later on. A big lift from the Swede, and now the American might be able to get through. That was an enormous lift, maybe even more so than was definitely required, and now Corotero's going to get, Hennick's going to get involved.
Oh, a helicopter pilot not quite finding the right way. You should see him in Macau, by the way. That's impressive.
He's a mad lad.
I think James called him Steve.
Steve?
Yeah.
Is that the pilot or the cameraman? Because let's be honest, it can't be the same person. We're terrified.
These days they do it all with their iPhones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's, I mean, great pilot. I mean, to be fair, Macau's such a great circuit. Love seeing some Macau.
Yeah. And let's, you know, we can guess where maybe one of the next live streamed ranked races will be.
We're going to be Macau.
I don't know. I don't want to say too much, right? But it's definitely one of those highlights on the real racing calendar. GT3, Formula 3 race.
It's one of the hardest, and I love street circuit racing, but it is, in my opinion, the hardest street circuit on the entire planet, and one that you can't experience anywhere realistically in sim racing, because it isn't anywhere except here. I mean, there's a few builds elsewhere and stuff, but none of them are very good. The Macau build on RaceRoom is very, very good. It's good fun. It's hard to get into the rhythm round, and it's a circuit that bites very, very hard, of course, with it being a street circuit.
Yeah, it's by far the most expensive track RaceRoom has ever built, because there are so many 3D models around it.
Yeah.
That's also why you don't often see street circuits in simulation games, because it's just a lot of work.
It's easy to come in with the tree brush and just slap down a few pine trees here and some fir trees there or whatever, whereas buildings and stuff where you have to build that, it is an enormous task. Well worth it though, in my opinion. I'd love, like I say, love it, absolutely love it. It plays host to quite a few of our season finales. Including in the Cooper Sim Racing series.
Yeah, once again this year.
It has been, yeah, exactly, for the previous 2 seasons as well.
Brüning now in the pits. That means Sen is the fastest Swiss driver at the moment. I shouldn't move away from Wieczorek, because he's right back on the attack mode against Dennis Schoeps.
Tight though. Let's see what the two Mercs as well can do in the background. Not able to get through on the American was Hennig, and Corotero wasn't able to get through either. Eyeing up his fellow Mercedes, and has tried to look down the inside a few times. Those two have been locked together for an awfully long time, but still nothing happened. By the way, I think Luciano Wittfurt might have had a mistake a few laps ago. No, I keep going back to those two Dutchmen, but I think they had a bit of an issue down at Les Combes. They were close, but it wasn't anything between the two of them, as someone's just dropped down the order.
What's that? I think Neubauer.
Neubauer, yeah, it must have been. I think it's just a missed sector split, so let's not panic too much. Let's see what happens when we come out of here. Is it going to be back up the order? Down in 29th at the present. Maybe on the completion of the lap, you'll see him dart back up, but I'm pretty sure he's actually in 7th spot, maybe? 7th spot, losing a bit in the pit lane. Interesting.
Second of the top drivers there, well, maybe third if you count Farkas, but something must have happened to Farkas, because he lost plenty of time. Maybe Farkas didn't start with a full tank, and I don't know, I think everyone will refuel quite a lot here.
It would have been very bizarre to not start with a full tank, but You know, I've seen weirder things, because the thing is, you'd want to start with a full tank so that your time in pit lane is less, because you have to take less fuel to reach the end of the race. If you're starting with a light tank whilst you'll be fast early, you've got to refuel more to get, and that stationary time in pit lane is always going to cost you more time. There we go into the pit lane with Hennig in that Mercedes, dives down. You've got on the left-hand side, you just saw him in pit lane. Abnormality on strategy that we never really know where anyone's going to go on it. This battle for 27th position, obviously the damaged Kulas with Timo on the rear end, should, realistically speaking, be an easy move. We know Timo's got a bit of damage on the rear end of his Audi.
Yeah, Timo, of course, the intro video creator of all these ranked events.
And they're brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, they are brilliant for sure. And let's stay on the stream even after the race, because he made an outro as well.
Ooh.
But this race hasn't been so lucky for him.
It's just one of those things, unfortunately. I say it can unravel so quickly when you're racing at these kind of speeds. Whew, I wasn't sure who was going to go for that, but definitely gave it a go at Blanchimont, and definitely had to back out of it on the Mercedes, so won't be able to make a move. By the way, I know we go back to it a few times, but Isaac Price, 3.6 seconds. There has been more issues from the Brit in that battle, trying to close down on Luis for the lead. But the Spaniard doing just about enough right now. Yet to stop, of course.
Yeah, over 1 hour of driving time now.
Unfortunately, Neubauer, I think, is out of the race. That is, yeah, there we go, disconnection. Well, that's a shame, because he was doing really well.
Yeah, he was doing a good job there, fighting at the bottom of the top 10. But that's just the... what is a technical error in the motorsports is disconnection here. It can always happen that something goes wrong.
Yeah, it's always like our sim racing equivalent. Obviously, you know, you've got hardware failures and whatnot. I've seen a few of those in my time. It's normally to do with the pedals, but sometimes your wheel can become unmounted or whatever. It's our equivalent. I don't know how many bizarre ones you've had in your time. My wheel clamp has fired off midway through a qualifying session. That was hilarious. Was stuck to the desk before we went racing. Wasn't my finest moment.
And what's it, a teammate whose chair failed in a title-deciding race? So you replaced the rolls on his on the chair, like at the bottom. You replaced them by some own construction he built out of caps of a Fanta bottle. You know?
Ah, yes.
And that didn't hold in the title-deciding race. He had a big accident. So yeah, of course it can't only be the disconnection. It can also be other things. Wheel failure could happen or something like that. Doesn't happen too often, luckily. But yeah, a lot of things can go wrong, especially if the race is 2.4 hours long. 2.4 hours long, yes. And so on the other hand, it's good to know that we still have... Oh.
Learn out of the race.
I was just going to say that we still have 28 drivers going, but we don't have that, because Lerner's out.
There we go, Moritz Lerner bailing from the race. Maybe it wasn't really working out for him. Maybe it must have had an issue. He was running in third spot over the entirety of the race, but alas, he was running by himself. We think it would have been the most entertaining experience for him, but unfortunately, I'm sure there's been an issue in that from the German and out of the race, I am afraid. Jose Luis, though, from the race lead into the pit lane, allowing Isaac Price to assume the race lead. But like we said, we're in that pit lane sequence. Now the question goes is how long will Isaac Price go in this race? Of course, for anyone going for a one-stop strategy, to give you a reminder, we'll be looking to pit in around about 8, if you want to be safe, 9 minutes time, just in case for going a lap longer than you expect towards the end of the race. A bit of a tall order, but certainly a possibility for some.
Yeah, now it gets really interesting with the strategy.
Not sure who is yet to stop on that list. I'm pretty sure it's everyone down to the driver that we're presently looking at, with a couple of exceptions. Grotta, Vajurek, Shops, I think, as well. Corotero, maybe. Lucianovic, but Van der Zijden. Yeah, this is tight as well, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. There is Van der Zijden out of the pit lane, and Lucianovic ahead. Which I don't think the switch didn't happen that long ago, did it?
That's
I don't
true.
fully remember.
That's true, but they also have quite a bit of traffic ahead of them. Look at this. Carretero and Chubbs. These are the next two cars on the road, and then Wieczorek, who's been in plenty of battles this race.
Oh, Carretero trying to go around the outside. That one's not going to work. Now, ideally speaking for Van der Zijden as well, they want this group to separate slightly. They don't want to come across them as one group. If they're one car by themselves, I bet, and you can see that exactly here from Lucianovic, but so much more grip on that run down into Pool. It was excellent out of corner with no name, and realistically speaking, you feel the Dutchman feels he needs to get on with it now. To the inside, running through Puon. That is an absolute send, and the Dutchman gains the position on Carretero. That's, I mean, it's bold. He needed to kind of do that stuff, and basically is saying to Van der Zijden, if you want to catch me, if you want to grab what could potentially be a podium, that is what you have to do. Isaac Price into the pit lane, by the way, as is Machuca, as is Marchal. Rokas to be also into the pit lane. Gute also. Cravey, Schultz, I think is going to stay out though. So most drivers coming in and committing to a definite two-stop strategy.
The Price is already moving again.
No tyres.
Or less of a refuel. Or a shorter stint.
How far is he ahead of Luis? Oh yeah, maybe it is just shorter fuel.
Just pitted one lap later though. That's a very curious strategy here from Isaac Price. Thomas Schultz so far in second position.
Rokas to B, by the way, that is another shorter pit stop. So I'm going to assume again, less fuel from the Dutchman. Now this is very interesting. This is lighting it up a little bit when it comes to the strategy. Is that we know that there are some drivers that are taking more fuel than others, but obviously that if you're taking less fuel on this stop, it's not as if that's a perfect strategy, because you have to gain that fuel at some point because you need to get to the end of the race, same as everyone else. Jose Luis on the rear end of Thomas Schultz for second position. Schultz going longer than anyone else towards the front and hanging on to second position for now, but you'd have to look back towards the Spaniard, our previous race leader, this driver who feels like he's under a fair amount of pressure right now to make something stick, and will try and dive at some point very, very soon through Puon. A little bit faster there from the Spaniard, and the German is looking like a pretty much a sitting duck as Wittfurt gets by Shops, as does Van der Zijden. Didn't fight it, did Thomas Schultz, just let it happen.
Yeah, just moved out of the way there and let Jose Luis move on with his race. I mean, it's smart. Schultz only loses time if he fights with Luis. He's not his real rival for a position in, when it comes to the end of the race. Wittfurt and Wieczorek though, that looks a bit harder.
Yeah, it does look a bit much. Obviously, Wieczorek and Grote not into the pit lane yet, I do not believe. Just going to say, by the way, of course, when we're looking at that gap between Isaac Price and Jose Luis, I'm actually expecting that gap to go out right now, because if you think of it realistically speaking, Isaac Price is in a lighter car. There we go, a little bit wide from the American. It's going to allow Luciano Wittfurt to make a move, and it's not going to be fought so wide from the Callaway. That's a bit more room than was required to give. But yeah, Isaac Price is in a lighter car. He's taken less fuel, so he's in a lighter car. And I nearly panicked then, thinking it was a Price that we were going to. But obviously, he's in a carbon car, and Marcus Grunig is the one who's been around on the exit of Rivage. That's normally one that I would suggest is assisted. You don't normally see spin solo.
Anywhere near him, so.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, on the exit of Rivage, you've obviously got this enormous curb, which if you mount slightly wrong, it will spit you out. But drivers don't tend to use it, and that's going to be a big one. Brake failure, potentially?
Looks strange. Looks like a technical issue for sure.
Maybe his pedals have come loose.
Into the pits as well.
Pedals have come loose. Can't get onto the brake pedal as much as everyone else. Grote going for what we believe is a one-stop strategy in that Bentley. could work out, could gain for a decent finish towards the end of the race. I'm not saying it's going to be a winning strategy. It most certainly isn't, but it could be in the top 5. Dennis Shops on the rear end of Cravey for 8th position at present, and we go from one Bentley to another. And I would have more suspected that the move kind of needs to come on the straights, and that sounds again a bit like a redundant statement because most moves do happen on straights these days, but between the Bentley and the Porsche, the Bentley's a much faster car in a straight line, realistically speaking. It needs to get by on that run to Les Commons. Mistakes like that, it's going to cost you quite a lot. It's going to cost the opportunity. You have to sit behind that Porsche for another lap.
I don't think he's really catching the Porsche so quickly though, because he's got very old tires now. Of course he got the weight advantage, but I'm not sure if he's really trying to fight Cravey. Of course Farkas is behind him. Farkas should be catching up. See him in the rearview mirror pretty soon, I think.
Not quite there. I mean, it's not been the greatest race from Farkas. Of course, coming into the pit lane earlier, has got by Pavlicek for 10th spot though. And has gained that one. Rocher and Vossler and Gut are quite close for 15th spot. That's what we roll back to. Rocher down the inside. Gut not quite there, but trying to hang on is Vossler. There's going to be contact between the two potentially. Had to get heavy onto the brakes into the path of Piff Paff. And managing to hang it onto the racetrack. The two Callaways battling, and a Mercedes now in the mix. Pavlicek and Farkas also quite close. Battles on the grid. Once again, we're seeing Hennig and Corotero quite close. Lino and Vejerik also very close. So plenty of battles still after the pit lane, all down the order. The other ones up the order have been split apart by gambles on strategy, as the Dutchman's going to try and make a move on the German outside around the chicane. Not necessarily convinced from that far back, but potentially moving to La Source, or maybe even just Les Combes at the end of the massive straight after this.
Corvette is a car that is difficult to overtake because it's got good straight line speed and also good brakes.
Oof, that's going to be a proper send from Gut, and you got to get that drive of the corner. There's a little bit of contact between the two, and the drive off from the Mercedes does look slightly better, mostly courtesy of contact, and you'll think that Kilian Gut has got to try and make the move stick here. We're going to see more side by side, but once again backs out of it, gives the advantage to Vossler, and that position not going for a switch at present. But like you say, the straight line speed of that Callaway should be able to hold on from the Mercedes, but the Mercedes is not slow in a straight line as well. There's enough room there to try and make it stick around the outside, which we've seen a few attempts at, but still determined to pick up the inside line, committed on the brakes, up and over the curb. Position is gained, and that was a proper send from the Dutchman.
Good move from Kieran Guide. Up into P16 here. We will see what it's worth at the end of the race, of course, because of the different pit strategies here.
Yeah, really, really nice move. Like I say, it's bold to send it down that deep from Guide. That really is bold.
And Rocha gained a lot of time.
Looked like a very Robert Wiesenmüller move. I mean, you were always regarded as being quite good on your brakes back in the day.
I once passed Kelvin van der Linde on the outside of the bus stop. That was pretty nice. Let's see if Farkas and Chubbs will do the same thing here. It was part of the ATAC GT Masters series last year. There was like an invitational race where they let me race for once, and it was pretty fun. We crashed like 2 laps later, but it was fun as long as it lasted.
Christian Grote into the pit lane, the Norwegian.
But that's one stop.
Yeah. And Shops also in as well, the Swede. They weren't fighting hard, rightfully so. They're just looking more so for to try their strategy. They're not looking to lose time, and with it being well over the halfway point of the race, and basically a lap over, they're looking quite comfortable. Race leader Isaac Price then, at the moment leading by 9 seconds. But remember, as far as we will have it, Isaac Price has taken less fuel on the pit stop than Jose Luis. Will this come back together again before the end of the race? We know that those two, and most of the grid as well, in fact everyone with the exception of those two Bentleys that are presently in, between Shops and Grote, the two Scandinavians that are in pit lane at present, everyone else is 2 stopping right now. and it's just about how it's going to work out in their favour or against it. Pavlicek's worked his way back up inside the top 10. The car that was the first one into the pit lane now trying to battle it out to grab 9th.
Yeah, and with the Bentley, I think it's possible that he also is actually on a 2-stop strategy.
Yeah.
And what happened here? Osler getting passed by Vivek. Pushing his lights there for a moment.
Not sure if it was necessarily no, please after you type flashing, but you never know. I've always said like flashing lights in sim racing stuff, and same as in motorsport, is you never. It's not descript, is it? I'm not sure if someone's flashing me to say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, Power." If they're flashing me to say, "I'm quite angry at you," especially if it's on a macro and you can't speed it up. It's normally if it's fast flashing, they're pretty annoyed. Let's take a look again at that absolutely sensational move from Geet. It was around the outside, lovely as you like on Vossler. Absolutely spot on to the inside, an aggressive send, and carries it to the outside at the second part of Les Comps. That is about as good, about as bold as you want to make it.
Great stuff there, and he's catching up now to Rocha, but Rocha is in the fight with Amrad Rea. Who was the
he's first. He's already stopped a lot earlier, isn't he?
Yeah, he stopped a lot earlier. He was running at the back of the field. Now Rocha up the inside. I don't think. Ooh, Amrad is. Ooh, just about catches the car there.
A little bit of a turn in. Rocha did very, very well, though, to hold that, and not liking what he saw from the Bentley, and now sends him around. He's on the brakes, though, to wait for the for Dreyer to get going again, so at least that's fairly respectful. Just clearly a bit of an accident there from Ryan, just overdid it, and yeah, just smashed the back. I've seen that time and time again, and a bit of a shame from Amrad Dreyer, but yeah, like I say, pitted very, very early, and trying to do something very much their own strategy.
Yeah, interesting take on the strategy, that's for sure. So far P15 is not looking so bad, even despite the little accident here.
Yeah, it's, I mean, those kind of things, like, they happen. The mistake's been made. Rojas already kind of very clearly admitted to it, and in a sense apologised by getting off of the power and allowing them to repass. And in that sense, you know, what more can you do, especially in a race like this? Like, you know, you're not battling for the world championship here. We're just out to have a good fun race, and a little bit of a defensive move, or no, it was actually just Vossler trying to get out of the way, which would now tell me that the flashing earlier was probably no, please can you pass, get on with it, thank you very much. So, yeah, fair enough.
Vossler losing a little bit of time right now. Two of these guys have been together the whole race.
Big damage.
Hennig and Carretero, and yeah, big damage on the car of Matt Hennig.
And
Vichorek as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Vichorek is right there to join the mix. To be fair, is that Timo that's the next car down the road? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, he's pretty
also
close.
Not that far. Yeah, not that far down the road either.
Just want to point out, fastest lap of the race, Isaac Price, 2:16.881. And he's extending the gap to Jose Luis at the moment. And it's interesting, because he definitely has to pit earlier. Bit earlier at least now, because he still has got a better consumption. I wonder if Luis is planning to keep his tires on the next pit stop. Because I'm pretty sure now, when Price is doing these sort of lap times, he's got fresh tires.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't suspect he's doing that on hour and 20-minute old tyres. It's as much as Spa's not the most abrasive track in the world, it's still unlikely to see them doing those kind of times that deep, unless we're in the night where everything's really nice and cool and whatnot. But yeah, right now I'm not so sure. The thing is Isaac Price potentially burning his tyres out by pushing them this hard? That's the real question there for that strategy. And between the two, I'm not sure which strategy is the best. I'm feeling I like Isaac Price's strategy better at the moment, because he's pulling out that gap now, which would mean that even if Luis was to close it in, he's doing it in the latter point of the race. It's kind of, I feel better about defending with 5-10 laps to go than I do about defending now, right? You know, and or trying to go on the attack a bit later on. I'd feel better about defending it as we're seeing more attacks, and Vosler there was not losing a position to Rocha. I was going to say he's let a couple through, not Rocha though. Definitely going to defend that one.
Interesting. I think Rocha also got quite a big pace advantage compared to Vosler at the moment. Their fastest lap times aren't so far away. Well, actually they are. It's 1 second difference. I just read it wrong. So Rocha should be 1 second faster per lap. Now he's losing time. The third Corvette, Mercedes Notch, he's catching up.
Ooh, that's a pretty big send there to the inside, trying to get through at the moment, but no way to make that one stick. Again, it's about timing those moves. A look to the inside there is basically pointless because, and same there, that's a proper send again. This is the pace differential between them, and you're absolutely right because Vershegginoj is right there now. The next car back is not for position, is not a part of this battle. That is the Belgian of Matul, who's just kind of circulating at the moment, a lap down after some issues earlier, avoiding a bit of carnage. This is looking a little bit better from Rocha to the outside through Blanchimont on Marco Vosler. I'm again not really convinced by that one. Did back out of it a little bit and is going to try and make something into bus stop. You can see there we go, wide entry, speed advantage to the inside and committed on the brakes. I'm pretty sure this one should be a slam dunk move from the Portuguese driver into the pit lane. Dreja as well, Vosler as well, trying to get in there and kind of making a bit of a mess of that.
Yeah, because he didn't expect Mercedes Notch going up the inside of him there.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Luciano Vitford, though, this is what I was wondering what was going to happen. This is on the outside of Rokas to be. Not fighting that one at all. Luciano Vitford then up into 4th spot will now try and close down on Thomas Schultz, who's doing fantastic in 3rd right now, but obviously experimenting there on strategy to get into this position, but either way is there right now.
Yeah, Schultz having a great race, clean race. He was also one of the drivers who was in the top 10 of the rating for quite a long time. Lost a little bit recently, but you can see his reputation there, 98.8. Super high.
Yeah. Just like you say, just doing everything right. Has been battling in the mid pack in the lower echelons for a little bit in this race, but once the pit lane windows come about, has just done perfectly well to just come up the order. By the way, David Marchal and Villa Cravey are going to be very, very close for 8th spot, which is what we currently see. And the Spaniard to the inside of Blanchimont, that is a proper send once again. Excellent move from Marchal, and now going to try and defend from the fin of Cravey. Didn't really need to. The Porsche's not fast enough in a straight line to attack into the final chicane and into the pit lane. Mad Hennig.
Just parking there very close to Lerner's car. Collisions are deactivated in the pit lane. And Henning also had a little bit of an incident. Let's see where he comes out in the end. And let's see what happened to Dennis Sharps.
Oh,
I think he wants to find Neubauer there at the core of the earth.
What you could classify as a slight off-track, shall we? Geit and Weibeg battling over 12th and 13th spot at the moment, the Mercedes against the Callaway. So we still have some close battles on track. We've got this one, we've got the Marcel Crivey one, we've got Andre Rocha and Vershegi Noj, you got Vecherik and Carretero. We've got plenty of battles on track right now, which is exactly what we'd expect.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about these ranked races. I'm sure it will be the same on the other 8 servers or whatever we have right now. Just a good race with some people, even if it's not for P1. Vitoric here fighting for P17, but he's been in plenty of great battles. But further ahead, Geit and Fievig, same thing.
Just anyone panicking looking at the timer with it saying 1 minute to go, that is not true. We have 1 hour and 1 minute to go. I was going to say 2 hours and 1 minute. No, we've got 1 hour and 1 minute to go. We've nearly passed into the final 60 minutes of the race. We're approaching potential final pit stops for some. Anyone into the pit lane now realistically can get to the end of the race, and I would suspect we'll see some giving it a good go. I don't suspect we'll see too many of the 3-stop strategies coming about, but you never know.
A little bit of a replay here with the incident with Dreher and Rocha. Of course, Dreher, it means spin in German, so that's...
It's just a little bit clumsy there from Rocha, and just overdid it into the rear end. But like I said, he had basically admitted it straight away because he pulled over to allow him through. Rocha's to be in the pit lane, by the way.
Oh, your shots!
Completely misses his box.
Oh wow, Schultz is in as well.
I've not seen that that often in RaceRoom. Also into the pit lane, Cravey as well. So pit lane's a little bit busier now than it is at most times. But of course, as you say, collisions are off, which unfortunately Gianmarco Fedici found the opposite end elsewhere in sim racing the other day. Assuming that no collisions in pit lane, and then found out very quickly they were.
Yeah, it's just one of these nice things in RaceRoom, I would say. That, of course, it's a bit unrealistic that you can't have collisions in the pit lane, but you just gain so much safety. Like we saw it so often, like back in the day on the older generation of games, that the pit boxes weren't assigned properly and you couldn't pit because someone was DNF'd and just parked in your box. And like this is nice and safe. You can just run whatever strategy you want.
Not contact related, but I'm pretty sure that you were driving around Bathurst once and came into in for your pit box and couldn't find your box.
Yeah, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So
I remember that story.
So like this, it's gotten a lot better here.
Ooh, a little bit of that.
Ooh.
Ooh, more contact between them. They're really getting muscly. This is proper touring car racing between Goit and Vieweg. And there we go, the Dutchman going for a spin.
That was really foreseeable after the contact on the straight, that it's not going to end well. And I don't understand it, because they were having a great battle before.
Oh, and nearly clears Vyshegi Nodge off the road as well, in 10th position. But once getting going, yeah, it was just a little bit aggressive. I mean, I get it, you know, rubbing is racing or whatever, which I'm not really about myself. But there was one. That was Cravey, was it? Yeah, it was. Oh, that's such a shame for the Finn. Fresh out of the pit lane and fresh rounds at Lake Om. Another one to add to the list. We didn't really catch that one, unfortunately. But yeah, if you're driving into each other on a straight, it's like, oh, come on. I get it in corner. I get, like, you know, you're leaning on them a little bit in corner. I kind of understand it. Don't like it. It is what it is. But on a straight, it's like, you know the next corner you're going to meet, all you're doing by making that contact is you're irritating each other. And the second you get to the next corner, neither one of you is going to give up an inch. And that is always going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of these avoidable incidents, I would say. Really tell it from quite a distance away that this was coming eventually. Right, now back to P11. A pressure by Moturi, but he's a lap down.
Yeah, just still driving around, which, you know, is almost in a sense like the endurance racing spirit, isn't it? Even though it's not the largest endurance race on the planet, being only 2.4 hours, but you know, it's still that you know, you want to reach the end of the race, you want to see the checkered flag, you want to be able to do your laps of the track. We'll take a look once again at the carnage of these two just bashing each other out onto. On the Kemmel Straight, Vieweg in the Callaway. A little bit of coming across there from the Dutchman of Goit, and yeah, at this point, neither one of them's going to give an inch. They've already pushed each other all over the place, and Vieweg leaves himself down the inside. The two of them come together once again, and it's just two drivers racing very hard.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, we just moved away at the wrong moment because Guide is just going straight back on the attack against Notch. That's the inside now. That should be the position gain for the Dutchman.
Gary got right out of the way of Notch. Did not fancy trying to race the Dutchman, who's looking pretty angry at the moment. They were a little bit wide there out of corner with no name. And now Wiesenmüller is going to be back a part of it. We'll try and do something around the outside of Puon, but will not commit to it to the same level that the Dutchman did, and we'll have to settle for 11th spot for now. Goetz also back inside the top 10, and will do his best to try and catch Vrocha, and then potentially Vivek again. And I wonder what will happen when those two meet once more.
And what's interesting is that Schulz is right behind him. Schulz doesn't have to pit again.
Yeah.
He will finish the race on these tires and this load of fuel. But he has 3 people fighting pretty hard. I guess Motul won't fight that hard. It's just wondering why he's in P26 and the other guys are fighting for a top 10 if he can go the same pace.
I've had that before. I don't know if I don't know how many laps down you've gone in your career. Probably not many. I've had it a few times where I've gone a lap down. You're driving with like P5, and you're keeping up with them almost with ease. You're like, I'm definitely faster than this. And obviously this comes down to difference in strategy and stuff. Obviously you're definitely not playing with the same strategy because then, but you're sat there thinking, if I can do this now, why couldn't I be a part of them in the race? It's one of those things that Caratero's had a bit of an issue there, coming through curve pull for it.
I think he wants to have his car look more similar to the car of his old friend Hennig, but Hennig fixed his damage in the pit lane.
So did Timo. The rear end of that car was a lot better. Yeah. And obviously we saw the rear end damage on the Audi. But I mean, with all these drivers, getting around doing their racing, we're seeing a bit of spacing out now. As here's Jose Luis in 2nd spot, and you can see that gap to Isaac Price right now. At the moment, 13 seconds. It's gone out a further 4. With all the racing that they're doing right now, obviously, I'm sure some people want to join the RaceRoom ranked racing. Plenty of ways to do it, isn't there, Rob?
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. The easiest way is if you just start your game, go in multiplayer, tick the box for ranked, and then you drive. And you can pretty much start at any time, whenever you want. And if you don't have all of the cars and all of the tracks, I really suggest getting the starter pack. It just costs €10. And it contains a lot of tracks. There's always going to be combinations every week that you can race with the starter pack, and then you go on a rookie server, just try it out. Yeah,
and it's a great learning experience with a great community as well behind it, which I think is always very important to have acceptance for mistakes and for learning. And it's a community that is constantly growing. Of course, we've hit our record for ranked multiplayer drivers today, as we keep beating it fairly frequently, which is always well and good. But sort of like open for your advanced drivers who've been in sim racing for God knows how long. Also for those that are looking to get themselves involved in sim racing, as we see Kulas into the pit lane. Oh, what a shame for the pole, who's not had the greatest day. And to be honest, whilst there was pace missing at the early stages, was dropping into the pack, the fact that a lap down and really looking quite good is quite not great. It is a massive shame, because it's not really through any fault of his own. Did see Schultz getting through lap traffic. That was a bit bold.
Yeah, but it's the same that applies for Kulas. It also applies for Moturi, who's a lot faster than his position indicates. But now it gets interesting, because Schultz really can't afford to lose much time against Wiesenmüller and Coit here. Because I think it's still possible for him to get a top 5 in this race. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was running around in the podium spots. I don't think he'll end up being in the podium spots, but I think he won't be too far off. Certainly not on this running right now.
Yeah, I think Price and Lewis are obviously out of reach. I think Whitford and Van der Zijden as well, but I'm not sure if Farkas is. Because Farkas is also on a bit of a curious strategy. Hit it very early.
Yeah. Wiesenmüller coming back to Goetz as well, and obviously, was feeling that they were racing quite hard a bit early. It was quite a send from Goetz to gain the position at Rivage, and then made a mistake instantly here, and Wiesenmüller tried getting back a part of it, and obviously will feel that he has the same pace. But you're absolutely right, charging from behind. Schultz surely is faster than him, but he needs to get by this and clear away in one swift comfortable move. Can't afford to waste time here.
And his disadvantage is that he's got a pretty heavy car at the moment because he was the last one to pit, so he won't have a good straight line speed. Something happened to Farkas. Oh no, it's Farkas doing his last stop already. So that's definitely gonna be a tire change as well. You won't run 50 minutes on the old tires.
No.
Let's see where Farkas comes out, how far ahead or even behind he is of Thomas Schultz.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on Schultz, and I'll keep my eye on the other screen of Farkas. I think he's just gone up onto the jacks now, so you're absolutely right, taking tyres, and it's going to be a long stop, and obviously I think he's going to come out behind this, but should have a pace advantage on the Audi. Looking to the inside on the Hungarian, though, Schultz trying to get by with a shaggy nodge, and a little bit of a dive or down the inside, a little bit deep from the Hungarian. Yep, fair, good racing. From the two of them, and the German up into 11th spot, and will now try, or 10th spot rather, as everyone's in pit lane as well, from Farkas dropping down. So Farkas has only just got moving now, and he's quite early in the pit lane, so it's going to be a lot of time lost.
Looking good for Schultz indeed. Farkas even behind Grotte, who also doesn't have to pit again, behind the B as well.
Rokas to be one of the first to come in for his final spot. Rokas to be was actually in good position. He was, I think he was ahead of Luciano Wittfurt and Van der Zijden. Obviously now taking a slightly longer stop and will drop back behind them. But it's been quite tight between all of that lot. And Rokas to be's worked really well up the order this race, it must be said.
Yeah, the B ran the strategy that he did a short second stint. So he didn't change tires from his first to the second stint. He just took some fuel. Then he went back in, and now he's on the tires and the fuel that he needs until the end of the race. So kind of the same strategy as Schultz. Farkas, of course, he's on a different strategy, but they are kind of in the same position now. They both don't have to pit again. They will both drive until the end. So advantage for Farkas maybe with the a little bit fresher tires, but it's not a big advantage. He has to get past Rokas to be on track.
And Rokas to be has been closing in. It was 7/10 on the previous lap on the Bentley of Christian Grotte, directly ahead the Norwegian. So unfortunately, I think Grotte's going to be going backwards a little bit throughout the rest of this race, but is trying a one-stop strategy to try and make something work. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see how Shops was going to do it, but alas, we did get to see one attempt on that one-stop strategy. Everyone else doing a two-stop. So, you know, you might as well play to the strengths of your car, although you can see the pace differential of those cars chasing. Yeah.
The pace difference is not only because of the tires, the strategy, or the skill of the drivers, but also that the Bentley is running on more ballast weight because of the possibility to do a one-stop.
Schultz, by the way, on Guita as well, trying to make something stick into the chicane a little bit deep from the Dutchman, and once again, literally carbon copy of the previous race, though it was a little bit less fair from the Dutchman, pushing off the German out of the final chicane. And once again, we'll try and figure a way round to the outside of La Source, and it says more so to try and get a better run, more so than anything else, and just sit on that Mercedes and try and make the move stick into Les Combes. Let's keep our eye on how Schultz is going to get through. Rokas to be still on the rear end of Grotte behind this, to the inside. Tito Rouge has to lift out of it, which might cost some time. Hooks up the apex, is blocked on vision a little bit from the big Mercedes directly ahead, but now we're into the meaty part of it, and now we're at the part where Schultz needs to get through. He can't afford another lap behind Kilian Goit, but defensive, very, very defensive, and coming back across to hold the German of Schultz at bay. Once again over Les Combes into Maudie. There's the the Audi to the inside. No way through. This is costly.
Yeah, this can make or break the race of Schultz, and I would have expected him to be more aggressive here. But we've seen where it can end. Goit and Fiwe, those were the two that crashed earlier on, so...
Oh, by the way, we had a bit of a yellow flag. I was concerned that Isaac Price had been round, but no, it wasn't. It was, unfortunately, a spin from David Kulas again. So his car clearly not mended, and unfortunately, very much struggling at the moment. Goit defending 9th spot at present. And Schultz losing time every single time he is, every single corner, every single apex that he is behind this Mercedes right now is time lost. I know he's in a heavier car, but he's in a fresher car. He's in a fresher mindset. He needs to be getting on with this now, and the time on the clock is ticking down. Grotta still managing to keep the B at bay, though. Is that going to last for too much longer into campus? The Bentley still holding firm.
Yeah, great fight here, but I think we have to jump back to Schultz because he's going to try again against Goit here. And he can try both on the inside or the outside. It's both possible in this corner. Goes for the outside. Well, Goit is releasing the brakes pretty late. Schultz is sticking it, and I think he has to.
It's so harsh racing, and we're going to see some more contact on the straight. Goit is racing it as hard as he can, but like you say, releasing the brake, trying to squeeze Schultz, and Schultz once again going around the outside of La Source. I think we might see some side-by-side into Eau Rouge between them, but the drive just not good enough from the Audi. We ride on board with Mashegi Nodge directly behind, just waiting essentially for something to happen between these two. I think in an ideal sense he wants Schultz to get through, and then he can go on the attack of the Dutchman well over the curb. As you can see, the straight line speed of that Audi might well be good enough this time, but you know that Mercedes is pretty healthy in a straight line itself. It's to the outside of Les Combes this time for Schultz on Goit. They come to contact once again, still blowing into each other, and this is exactly what we saw a few laps ago. It's just hard racing once more, and Goit's able to hang on.
But I think at this moment Schultz just has to make an aggressive move on the inside. He has to make an aggressive move on the inside where Goit can't cover. He might get the inside here, but no, you can see it. Goit is running him out wide. Whenever Schultz is on the outside, he doesn't have a chance. He has to go from the inside, even if it's a bit further back, because otherwise this is ruining his chances of, you know, even thinking about a podium in this race.
Yeah, because every time they go through a corner, like even here, if they were side by side, Goit is just going to push him straight off the road, which, I mean, from a respectful point of view, I don't think it's too great, but they're racing it, like I say, as hard as they can. And like I say, for Schultz, he's just got to fire one through at some point. He just has to absolutely send it. But where? Because Goit's got the inside line basically every single time of asking.
He's got to go on the inside on bus stop and do the same as that Goit did to him.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way he's going to get through here. Otherwise, this will continue for 3-4 laps until they eventually crash.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is the crash between these two right now, if they're driving like this, is inevitable. Where's he going to have? You see that slightly tighter line from Goit. Oh, big slide though! That's a big one, and into the barrier hard. And that is a solo error from Thomas Schultz. That is a shame. That is such a shame. Was fighting so hard and was really trying to commit through Blanchimont to try and make something stick into the final chicane, and Schultz, that's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage, and he's about to get lapped by Price, I think. He's absolutely flying at the moment. Over 15 seconds the gap to Jose Luis.
Yeah, that is indeed. Isaac Price coming through. Already Rokas to be has been put a lap down at present. You can see there on the timesheets. It's getting quite a healthy lead from Isaac Price, but Price still needs to pit once more, but I don't think it'll be any time soon. 41 minutes left on the clock, and I think we're more looking for Isaac Price to be pitting around the sort of 20 minutes to go mark. So just keep chopping off, trying to basically build a lap or build a gap rather to Jose Luis. It's currently, like I say, around 16 and a half seconds, and he's just going to keep trying to build it out, just try and bring it out a bit more, 20 seconds, something like that, because he knows that realistically speaking, his final pit stop should be slightly longer than Jose Luis, and it's just about how much longer it will actually be, if indeed that is how it goes. There you go, you can see that spin just on turn-in. Such a shame for Schultz.
Yeah, such a shame indeed, and that really, I mean, he's about to get passed by Rokus de B, who's in the same strategy here. It really cost him all of his advantage he had by picking a very good strategy, but then at the end of the day, of course, Goit was winding him up there with his defense, but he still made a mistake on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel for Schultz. Like, that defending, in my opinion, was over the line. But you know, they're racing hard. It is what it is. I think it was a little bit too much from Goit, but they'll race it as they see fit. And I would be very frustrated if I was in the boat of Thomas Schultz there, and unfortunately he's under a lot of pressure now from Rokas de B and Bence-Farkas, Pavlacek and Vichorik also very close, Vysheghy Nodge also very close. There we go, back to the battle for ninth spot with Goit with Vysheghy Nodge. And once again, Goit's just going to defend to the inside and will release the brake slightly and run him out, even if he was to make it stick around the outside. But Vysheghy Nodge just not fancying it.
Yeah, these two are a bit closer pace-wise, though. I don't think Goit has to defend quite as hard as he did against Schultz earlier on.
I don't think I would have said the speed from the Audi in a straight would have been fine, but I don't think Vysheghy Nodge's straight line speed right now is actually that impressive. All things considered, we're back with Schultz, and we've got this three-way fight. It's an Audi leading two BMWs, Rokas de B and Bence-Farkas directly behind. And to be perfectly honest, Christian Grotter's not really that far back. Here's Vysheghy Nodge to the inside. Oh, is that going to be a proper send? I'm not sure if that one was going to stick, because once again, just so good on the brakes at the moment is Goit. But this time around the outside and to the inside of Malmedy. They're so tight once again. It was pinched as hard as it could from the Dutchman and back across the nose aggressively from Vysheghy Nodge. But that might open the door, running down into Rivage. Trying to open the door himself is the Hungarian. Not yet. To the outside of corner with no name. That's got to be a proper send around. And you can see once again, Goit is just going to push the car off, essentially, give no room on the exit of the corner, and just force Vysheghy Nodge to make it stick with, like you say, must be an ultra-aggressive dive.
Yeah, the thing with Goit is, you can say some of his moves are too aggressive, okay? But at the same time, he's just one of these drivers who's also exploiting the weaknesses of his opponents. He's not the fastest driver, but he is still staying in position where from the pace he shouldn't be, just because he doesn't give up in the fights, and he's really using everything to his advantage. I think he would be a great touring car driver.
Yeah.
Bit uncharacteristic style in a 2.4-hour race, though.
But like I say, he's just going out there to race hard. He's not letting anyone through. He's just racing this as hard as he can. It might be considered a little bit over the line, but he's holding them back. And I think if it was in a rule book of quite a lot of leagues as well, I mean, whilst it would be over the line, it might result in something of more of a slap on the wrist. I don't think much has been actually what I would even consider illegal. It's just a little bit, bit harsh. But realistically speaking, he's just, like I say, he's just hanging on for now and racing potentially even above his pace. Andre Rocha into the pit lane. Vysheghy Nodge around the outside, but again, no way. And it's more so that outside line from the source. It's more about getting a good drive all the way down the hill, isn't it? Isaac Price into the pit lane. Oh, here we go.
That's earlier than I thought. That is interesting. He has to refuel quite a bit now, but he also gets fresh tires for a good distance, 40 minutes more or less. Of course, they can still finish the race. And here you can see his car's lifting up. He is changing tires. It's going back on Goit and Vysheghy Nodge. This time, the straight line speed was just too much. Yeah,
Vysheghy Nodge through. I wonder if, so based on what to what you were saying earlier, and to carry that on, especially with it being this early from Isaac Price, surely Jose Luis is not taking tyres on that stop.
He can't.
He can't do, surely. Oh, we'll have to wait and see when we Rokas to be to the inside of Schultz. No way through, and the more they battle, the more Bence-Farkas will be a part of this battle. And you can tell the front end of that Audi is just a little bit damaged, doesn't have the pace that he had earlier. Rokas to be will go for the cutback and try and make something stick at Pouon. Been hard fights for all of them today, and that fantastically liveried M6 is at the inside. Not committed fully though, and the Audi's going to hang on around the outside. There's near contact between the two of them, between the two apexes at Pouon. Double Gosh, as some have called it as well. I think it's its current name. I don't really know, but we'll stick with Pouon. Rokas to be though, not able to get through right now.
These two on the exact same strategy. One kiss off the wall less for Rokas to be though. And then Farkas in behind. Fresher tires. Catching up. And Isaac Price has come out behind Witwoud and Van der Zijden. They both still have to pit, but he might lose some time behind them.
it's a fair gap. It's just how quick it comes down. I mean, knowing Isaac Price's pace earlier on in the race, it would come down quite a bit. But obviously, his last stint would have been on a lighter car than both Van der Zijde and Wittfert, and of course Jose Luis. So, realistically speaking, it's not too much of a. Whew, there's a send. There's a proper send. That was very early on the brakes, and it must have been from Thomas Scholz. And there was a proper send from Rokas de Bie, and Farkas as well was a part of the mix. So these all closing up, and this is looking great for the Norwegian driver of Christian Grote, who's just sat there on the rear end of this train, is nearly there. And like I say, if they're gonna fight this hard, that was a. I don't think that was necessarily a send from Rokas de Bie. I think it was just so early on the brakes from Thomas Scholz.
Yeah, because you could see Farkas at the same braking point as de Bie. This is far from over. Surely the damage must be hurting Scholz.
Yeah, it must be. This looks like it might be a pretty easy slam dunk move from the BMW M6 of Rokas de Bie, holding it in the middle of the track. You can see the size differential between them, and you can see the superior brakes from the Dutchman. Rokas de Bie around the outside. Scholz drops a position. It looks like it won't be too long before potentially dropping another one to Bence Farkas, and maybe even another one past that point as well, because the Bentley that's on a single stop here of Christian Grote is just sat there in 13th. Whilst the pace of that car will not be great right now, any time to swallow up any damaged cars will be great.
Yeah, let's see if he can get into the top 10, because I assume that Machuca, Vivek, Oseguinoch, Goit, they're all going to go into the pits.
Yeah. Oh, we're keeping an eye, by the way, on lap times from Isaac Price versus Jose Luis, because over the few laps, as there goes a move from Grunig on Sen. This is a lap down, but still very, very close between the two and only two Swiss drivers on the grid, battling out for 23rd position, a lap down. But yeah, the pace difference between Isaac Price and Jose Luis was around 7/10 in favour of Isaac Price. Whereas now, with a heavier car on Isaac Price, it's a 2:17.9 on the previous lap from Jose Luis. And considering, you can see there, his personal best lap being a 2:17.4, only running half a second off. These are good times from Jose Luis right now. And so Isaac Price is the one who's got to do the legwork, especially considering that Luis's final stop is probably going to be quite considerably shorter. I'm now feeling very good about the Spaniard.
Yeah, question for the chat then. Who's going to win? Jose Luis, who still has to pit, but probably will only refuel? Or is it going to be Isaac Price in the Bentley? Who's got Mutui now ahead of him?
Obviously, a lap down is the Belgian, so would, realistically speaking, not necessarily legally required to hop out of the way, but from a respect point of view, we'll need to, and he does indeed get out of the way, although he's sort of just sat there where Isaac Price wants to be for turning into Blanchimont. Does manage to do it and clobbers the curb quite hard, but with a big Bentley like this, you're not going to be too worried about the track clutter. Isaac Price, you can see there as well, a 2:16.8. I believe it's the fastest lap of the race. Certainly is an 8:81. Across the line this time by, what was the lap time from Isaac Price? Still faster than Jose Luis. It was a 17.4. Obviously, fresher tyres working out quite nicely.
This could be really, really close towards the end of the race. Let's just give a shout out to drivers that we haven't really talked about so much. Ran Machuca here, running in 5th position. Fastest of the Corvette. That's a very good race from him.
Yeah.
And right behind him, it's David Machal.
Yeah, doing very, very well indeed up inside the top 6. Machal was looking very good earlier. Unfortunately, the qualifying and whatnot did not really go his way, but has worked his way up the order bit by bit. I think a few other drivers. We've spoken about quite a lot of the other ones because, to be honest, the racing's been so intense we've been able to see it. Amrad Dreyer, unfortunately, is a bit further down than maybe we would have expected. Well, I mean, tried something random on strategy. Pitted very, very early, took a second stop then quite early as well. Currently running in 20th spot, but as you can see, a fair way down on those ahead. But maybe there'll be something more to gain I don't think he's going to finish in 20th. Realistically speaking, isn't that far off the next couple of cars. 6 seconds off of Vosler ahead, who's a further 7 seconds off of Carretero. Expecting some of these to pit. Maybe there's a top 15 on the table.
Well, that could be tight, because I think especially Rocha and Drivey are already drivers that have a little bit more pace. We'll see how it goes out. Drea has got the most interesting strategy out of anyone here. He was the very first person to pit. I think we have to go near the front now, because Price is catching up at Van der Zijden.
And again, if he wants to win the race, if he wants to try and challenge Jose Luis, right now he's leading and still waiting to come into the pit lane. If he wants to maintain any sort of advantage, this pass needs to be swift on Chris van der Zijden. But it's an important position. I know they're on differing strategies, but I'm pretty sure that van der Zijden will fight this one quite hard. There's a further 5 seconds up to Luciano Wittfurt. And more so keep an eye on the 40-second gap to Jose Luis. Previous lap time was a 2:17.9 for Jose Luis. For Isaac Price, it was a 2:17.0. Nearly a second faster from the Brit. That is pretty sensational. Just 0.2 off of his personal best and fastest lap of the race. But look how far he is off the back of van der Zijden. That doesn't look so great. This needs to be a bold move in the middle of the track then.
Let's see if Price can play out his esports advantage here. He knows how to pass people. Been quite a few times in the steward's office this season already.
Yes. Like I say, he can get it over there. He's one of those drivers that has raced a large multitude of cars, from endurance racing, in GTs, in LMP2s, was 6th in Le Mans Virtual in the team with Jack Keithley when it was Rebellion Williams Esports, that event, of course, one of their sister cars. Did end up winning the race as well, so has been a part of quite a strong stable of drivers. And we've said before,
he reminds me a bit of Jack Keithley in some ways, you know.
Very much so.
United Kingdom, aggressive driving style, driving a Bentley.
You saying all Brits are aggressive?
No, I don't say that, but I say it's like two similarities, you know.
It's why I'm surprised Williams haven't picked him up properly, because I would have thought he would have fit in with Keithley and that lot, but just to like minds and all that kind of stuff. Still not able to get through though. The big Bentley on the Audi. Isaac Price just not able to get through on van der Zijden right now. Are we going to see a proper send here into the chicane? Looks to the inside and is going to commit to it, and there we go. Van der Zijden didn't really fight that, but is it going to be the same line that he took earlier? Nope. Isaac Price manages to keep it on the racetrack this time by. Got very close to the back of Jose Luis earlier in the race, remember, trying that kind of stuff, but this time manages to pull it up to the racetrack. Van der Zijden surely not going to fight, and I think Luciano Wittfurt's in the pit lane.
Great news for Price there. He lost a bit of time, but not too much, fighting with van der Zijden. And now that Wittwold is in the pits, that makes it even easier for him.
Yeah, oh god, carry on.
I wonder when Lewis is going to pit. I think he will just pit at the last possible moment, because he's not going to get fresh tires anyway.
Got to. Oh, battle between Dutchmen. We've seen this a few times today, but this time it's slightly different Dutch drivers, as we see Goit and Rokas to be battling it out, and Schultz is closing, but there we go. That's a proper move, and that is not good. That was a fantastic move around the outside from Rokas to be, only to be absolutely sent off by Goit. That was not good.
And Goit making himself a few enemies here in this race. Now with his old friend Schultz behind him. I think a lot of people will have lost a little bit patience with him here now.
And he's quite slow here as well. Is Schultz going to make something stick here? No, not yet. But again, now that Schultz is coming with a full head of steam, surely there's going to be a proper send at some point. I don't think he's going to be trying to wait around behind the Dutchman anymore. And like I say, making a good few enemies right now is great, which in sim racing you really don't want to do, because when those drivers race drivers of any caliber, whether it's in sim racing or real, remember this time it's not going to be fought from Goit, and the inside line is that of Thomas Schultz. So maybe he's starting to feel a little bit guilty, or maybe he's just going to race it quite hard himself. I think it's more so. I think the guilt is coming through a little bit.
Word sounds very similar to me.
Yes.
To his last name.
Does a bit. Rolls off the tongue.
A bit of a cut there as well. Rocus to B. Down to P13. Yeah,
after a great drive.
Oh, close battle further behind. Lino against Hennig.
Oh, two Germans battling it out as around the outside. Now, this is how it should be done, I'm sure. There we go. Space given between the two. Now, if you play that one back to what we saw, there's a little bit of a brush and continuing so, but they are racing hard, but giving each other room. Lino to the inside. Timo not able to make it stick, and Hennig goes around, and there is the move. That is how it should be done.
Really nice stuff there, and Matt Hennig with his repaired car passing the other car that had a pit stop for repairs up to P21, and I think maybe P20 is possible. It just needs one guy to pit. I'm not sure if Fossila still has to come to the pits, or maybe Carretero.
Yeah, I'm still I'm curious as to how this order is going to play out. We've just about completed 2 hours of racing, just 24 minutes left to go, and that gap is coming down between Isaac Price and Luis. If I'm being perfectly honest here, if Jose Luis isn't going to take tyres, and if he believes he's going to come out ahead of Isaac Price, kind of needs to make it sooner rather than later entering pit lane, because if he leaves it too long, by the time that he comes to the pit lane, Isaac Price could just jump him.
But he just needs to be sure that whenever he comes in, he still comes out ahead of Price.
Right.
That's the main thing. So he should pull it as long as he can, as long as he still comes out ahead of Price, if that makes any sense, what I just said.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially when you're racing this by yourself. You're trying to do as you are, and it's not an easy one where there's so many strategy calls that are kind of viewed as incorrect. Let's take a look once again at Goit, and that move was done. That is not okay. That is really not okay. Like that kind of angle, because it was such a good move from Rocus to B. By the way, Goit is into the pit lane, and will come in for a final stop. But when it was such a good move, to have it ruined right at the end there.
And also he knows he still has to pit. The B doesn't have to pit.
Yeah.
So he wasn't really fighting him for a place in the end.
Yeah, that's one of those things happen now, isn't it? We'll focus on the positives as Pavlicek.
Crivey with the big moment there.
Seen that so many times over the top at Radeon. It's so hard to attack it with full speed in these GT cars. It's just at the point where it's flat in most cars. Just you saying earlier the Porsches, maybe not so much, but it's on that fine line where you're basically dancing on a knife edge every single lap you go over the top. Just brilliant stuff. Either way, with 22 minutes to go, we still don't know who's going to win this race. We know that Van der Zijden needs to come into the pit lane. Luciano Wittfeldt's already been in for his final stop, and it's that battle for the podium.
Look at the gap between Wittfeldt and Van der Zijden, right?
Right.
It's not big. It's 28 seconds between them.
Yeah.
And Wittfeldt was a bit ahead of Van der Zijden before, but something like 3 seconds. So it maybe cost him like 31 seconds.
Yeah.
And the gap between Price and Luis now is 36. So if Luis pits now, he will still come out ahead of Price, but of course he will have the slower car in the end. That's and of course, well, no, that's not even true, because he has to refuel much less than Wittfeldt had to.
Yeah.
Wittfeldt has a long stint on these tires.
It's potentially going to be a very fast pit stop from Jose Luis, and it's just about how much time Isaac Price is going to have to gain, because as much as they do fuel up pretty quick, and we know that Luis doesn't need to take on that much. Did go very, very deep. I think he came in after just over an hour and a 5, I think it was, roughly. And so realistically, I think can go until there's about 10 minutes left in the race. So still has a good little bit. Pavlicek, by the way, what's happened to Pavlicek? He's dropped down. Is he in the pit lane? Vishorik as well in.
I don't think they are.
No, me neither. I think they were just... Vishorik is in the pit lane. Yeah. Pavlicek,
yeah.
I think... Pavlicek has got by with... was battling with Krivy.
Yeah.
I think it might have just been as Vishorik was in the pit lane, so it's fine. I was panicking a bit there.
Well, 20 minutes still left in the race. Time to answer some questions from the chat. Did Price make a mistake early on? No, he didn't. He's just on a different strategy to Jose Luis. Price is doing 2 pit stops, and he's changing tires both times. And Luis will also have to do his second pit stop still, but he won't change tires when he comes in. Hopefully, because otherwise this race is pretty much decided, but I think Luis will know it himself. Are there custom liveries on RaceRoom? Well, this custom livery that Price here has, it's a prize for qualifying for the GT Masters Esports Championship. He went very creative with his car. So it's not normally possible to get a custom livery, but in certain occasions, if you qualify for a big competition or something like that, it can be made possible.
Well, you'd want to qualify for the Cooper Sim Racing Series and be out towards the front.
Kind of curious that we haven't seen Luis in any esports competition.
Considering the skill.
Yeah. He could fight for prize money.
Very much so. And kind of makes you wonder if ever we could convince the Spaniard to take part in something, because incredible talent, quite clearly. Again, to remind everyone, the #1 ranked driver on RaceRoom and has been incredible this race. Been battling it out with Isaac Price, but has always really held firm. Now we are about to get our answer, though. Jose Luis into the pit lane. Final stop, 18 minutes and 35 seconds left to go in the 2.4 hours of Spa on RaceRoom. And the question will be as to what is the gap which way between Isaac Price and Jose Luis. This is it for the lead. The big battle that we all want to know the answer to. How much time does Isaac Price have to come in? We're not expecting tyres from Luis. We're just expecting fuel. And so realistically speaking, at least by our numbers, should come out just about ahead of Isaac Price, who's just going through the final chicane now. But it's just what the gap is going to be. That's the big question. It's not going to be a big one. There goes Jose Luis out of the pit, and he is going to take the lead and hold the lead here in the 2.4 hours of Spa. Just drive straight onto the racetrack. But Isaac Price, man on a mission, fresher tyres, and absolutely charging.
This can be close. This will go down to the wire here between Price and Luis. I think it's very possible that Price catches up, but can he get past in the end? Van der Zijden also in the pits. His car staying down as well. So the interesting question will he come out ahead or behind Luciano Wittwood? I think he should come out a little bit behind the fellow Dutch.
And this is why I keep saying it.
But he's moving already again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tight fight for the podium between both of these two that have been so close on so many times this race. I think it's going to be advantage Van der Zijden, but for how much longer? And the answer to that is not very much longer, because I'm actually wrong. Luciano Wittwood is going to gain it potentially. Oh no, it is going to be Van der Zijden. We're going to see side by side once again in Eau Rouge, but I think Van der Zijden's going to have to realistically back out of this. He's going to drop back into the slipstream of Luciano Wittwood, and the battle for the podium is absolutely on for the next 17 minutes, as is that one for the race lead. 2.4 hours is such a good race distance, and once again we are seeing it. Late move in defence for Luciano Wittwood, but back across to the defensive line onto the nose of Chris Van der Zijden, just managing to hang on. Podium spot. We'll keep our eye on Isaac Price, because that gap is absolutely rocketing down.
Also, just pulling out of the way, doing the right thing, letting both of them through. And you can see the confidence that Wittwood has under braking. Braked so much later than Van der Zijden. Their driving style is, they still do pretty much the same lap times in the end, but it's a very different style of how they drive these cars.
we're in for another thrilling end to one of these ranked races that we've had, which we had a good one at the Nürburgring, but this one might well just top it, considering the gap that's coming down. We'll keep our eye once again on the lap time. It's going to be a little bit harder to pick because the last time from Isaac Price, coincidentally enough, was invalid, which is fantastic. But he's been running in the mid to low 17s. Now that you've got Jose Luis, who was running in the higher echelons of the 17s, to be perfectly honest. Now that he's put fuel back onto that car, this is where the issues are going to come. Obviously, his lap that he just completed is not relevant because it's an out lap, but it was 2 minutes 41 if you really want to know. And Isaac Price, a 2:17.0. So once again, lapping not far off fastest lap of the race. And in fact, if you were to compare a 2:17.0 to anyone else in the race, it would be the fastest lap of the race. It's just the fact that he's done a 16.8 earlier that keeps that as just being a good lap rather than a personal best fastest lap. That's how fast he's going right now.
Absolutely flying at the moment. And what do you do when you're Lewis in this scenario?
You can't do anything. You've made your bed, now you lay in it. You just have to, you fight with the cards you have. You know that Isaac Price is charging. You know that he will get to you. Those are almost assured. Obviously, nothing can be fully assured in motorsport and sim racing, but those things are fairly nailed on. It's just how you act when they get there, how you defend, and we know that Luis is an incredible race driver himself. Let's see what happens between Luciano Wittfurt and Van der Zijden. Van der Zijden having to go around the outside, and Luciano Wittfurt holding the central line on the run into Les Combes, and will hang on to the podium spot, that final spot on the podium, up for grabs over the next 14 minutes. That's roughly 7 laps to go here at Spa, and this is all they're fighting for. And if anything happens, Machuca might be in for a podium bout.
But I think Machuca still has to pit.
Does he indeed? Oh yeah, I think he might have to, which might leave Marchal actually in that position. I'm not 100% sure myself. Vivek
just went for a splash and dash. I don't think Marchal still has to pit, so he has a good shot at the top 5. But the pit stop from Machuca won't take long anyway.
Not long left. There we go. The gap coming down. Let's get a real indication as to what the gap is coming down and what the speed is. I mean, you can see it there. It's the first car in shot that we're focused on there. Jose Luis. You've got the second one, which is Goit. And then that final one, it was an invalid lap from Jose Luis, just to hammer home how much we can't read into that. But fair enough. I'm pretty sure it was in the lower end of the 18s from Jose Luis, because that gap came down and it was another low 17 from Isaac Price. It was a 17.134 this time. It's rocketing down. We will have a battle for the race lead.
Yeah, still got plenty of laps before we really have to focus on them, but Price is eating up this gap. It's definitely getting closer. Of course, he's got Guide between them, but he should get the blue flags pretty soon.
Will he get out of the way though?
Let's see, let's find out. Great battle here.
Say.
Christian Grotte has caught up with Ben's Farkas. Oh, because Farkas has huge damage.
I think that might have been through Blanchimont or something like that, because he's had some serious issues. And also careering into this is Pavlicek and Villacrevi. We've got a 4-way fight here for 11th spot, and Farkas is hanging on for now, but they're all going to try and go for it. It's Christian Grotte, of course, on a one-stop strategy, and so he's on some very, very old tyres right now, but Farkas on a car that looks better.
Just have to jump a little bit further ahead. We can't miss this attempt from Van der Zijden.
Still not able to get through. Close, though.
Yeah. Machuca just comes out of the pits.
And ahead... Is that... Yeah, that is
Marchal.
Yeah. So another close battle to focus on before the end of the race. And we've got the race for the lead as well. Oh, Farkas, by the way, is under a huge tack. Oh, no, there's been a spin as well. There's been plenty of spins. That's such a shame for Grotte, as well as Pavlicek. That is... I didn't quite catch it myself. Just caught it out of the corner of my eye. I think it was a little bit of tight fighting between Grutter and Farkas on Blanchimont and spinning, and then a bit of a sympathy spin from Pavlicek, and you can see that car is absolutely sorted. Pavlicek, I think, coming into the pit lane. Kroivi trying to battle it out with Farkas, and will try and gain that position himself. Pavlicek doesn't come into the pit lane, and there is Kroivi. Once again, the straight line speed on that BMW must be... Oh, God, the turn is also not very good. That's
the
surely a
understeer should be
slowdown.
now like the Porsche as normally.
Surely that's a slowdown, though. Surely that's got to be a slowdown. And for Ville Kroivi, should be a pretty easy gain there, and certainly is. Up into the top 10.
Yeah, so let's check out our battles here in the top 10. P7 and P8, Schulz versus Vivek. Advantage Schulz at the moment, but very old tires for him. P6 and P5, Machal versus Machuca. Machuca just came out of the pits, but he of course didn't change tires, so both also on pretty old tires. Battle for P3, Van der Zijden versus Wittvoet, the two Audi drivers that have been fighting the whole race. Van der Zijden a little bit fast at the moment, but Wittvoet with his aggressive style, he will be very difficult to overtake. And then, of course, the battle for the victory. Isaac Price against Jose Luis, gap down under 2 seconds.
And it was 1.4 seconds gained on the previous lap. 18.8 plays a 17.4. Isaac Price is coming. He's knocking at the door of a race victory. He's gone aggressive on strategy. And it's working. I get you'd play the card of, well, maybe he didn't have to take tyres on that second stop, or maybe there's other ways that he could have done it, as Van der Zijden and Wittvoet once again so close, but Van der Zijden still not able to get through the outside line at Les Combes, just not getting there, but he's getting closer and closer with every single attempt that he's trying, and surely he's going to have a good go at this podium at some point soon. But yeah, like he's got. The thing is, maybe he could have, not taken tyres with Isaac Price, but then we wouldn't be in for this thrilling fight towards the end of the race. So I'm all for it. I like seeing the aggressive nature on strategy to try and make something stick. At the moment, that Bentley doing very well.
Yeah, and of course, Price also gained a lot of time with the strategy by having he never had to refuel fully. He had a short pit stops. He had always a light car as well. It's not a bad strategy at all. Just checking once on Machal. But I think the battle we have to focus on now, it's the battle for the victory.
1 second. It is 1 second. And based on the speed that gap has been coming down, it will be on this lap. If he was to be able to just lap through Jose Luis, on the laps that Isaac Price has been doing, he would overtake Jose Luis this lap. But we know that it is not that simple. Has to make the move stick. Around Spa, though, very possible. He's been close to the back of Jose Luis before, though. Remember earlier in the race, he made that mistake down into the final chicane, whilst it was very, very close, and a bit of a slight cost him, but nothing major, quite clearly, as they're very, very close right now. Look at how much more turning he's got.
Price is flying at the moment.
Oh, that for Isaac Price, that will feel very, very good. And for Jose Luis, that's pretty damning, if I'm perfectly honest. I think this race win, if Jose Luis can keep him by for the first little bit here, that will be ideal, because it's always when they're catching very, very quickly, if you can keep them behind, you can slow them down more so onto your speed. But I think with Isaac Price and knowing how aggressive he is, you compared him to Jack Keithley, and Keithley's the kind of driver, he's not going to wait. He's going for it, as once again Luciano Wittvoet's going to hang on to third spot with Van der Zijden trying to go around the outside. Back to the race lead, Jose Luis, Isaac Price. It's going to happen here. Surely it's got to happen into the final chicane. The superior grip of the fresher tyres that Isaac Price has. That's so wide, though. Coming out of Stavelot down towards Blanchimont, the drive is much better from the Brit. Is he going to be able to get through on the Spanish driver here? Luis hanging on. He's been out front basically all day. It was just Isaac Price's aggressive strategy that put him out for that middle stint. It was always going to go the way of Luis retaking the race lead. But right here, it wasn't a look to the inside from Isaac Price. And Luis is doing very well to hold on.
And Price knows he has time. 6 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock. And of course, in the race, if you cross the line, you can still finish the lap, of course. So if they cross the line like 10 seconds before 0, they will still finish the lap, of course. So who knows how long this race is still going to be. I think Price feels like he has enough time to make a really clean move. Doesn't feel desperate at the moment.
There has been a few battles on the grid, by the way. We had Vašecký Nodge and Farkas being very, very close to 2 Hungarians, but we must keep our eyes focused on this because this is Isaac Price's best opportunity. He's going to take it to the outside going into Les Combes, but I don't think that straight line speed of that Audi looks good enough. But the brakes, there's going to be contact between the two. Isaac Price around the outside. This is going to be tight between them, and Luis is going to hang on for now.
Brave stuff there from Luis. Bit early turn in from Price. Oh no, it's spicing up.
Big send. Oh, it's so close. That's exactly what he was planning from the previous lap. Opens a door that wasn't there, and Luis is round. Isaac Price, he was not there. Thankfully, they've got 45 seconds to the 2 behind, and they're allowed to just carry on, but they've got lap traffic to worry about as that's Grota directly ahead.
Yeah, and you can see Price was waiting there. It looked like he kept pushing in the scene. And then he still gave the position back, of course, in the end. But the tires will be completely overheating now on the Audi. Oy, oy, oy. Fair play to him for waiting.
Yeah. It was a really good effort between the pair of them at Les Combes. But, oh, there we go. You can see, yeah, those tyres are done. Those tyres are absolutely done on Jose Luis. And Isaac Price made short work of that. You're absolutely right. Luis's tyres are overheated right now, which I'm sure he'll be frustrated in that sense. It was hard racing. The door wasn't really open, so Isaac Price was going for something which didn't exist. But again, respect that he did in fact wait, but essentially he created the demise of Luis anyway. So unfortunately, that is how it is. But we can focus on some of the other battles that we've got. Vašecký Nodge did get by on Benz Farkas, but Machuca here with Marchal battling out over the top 5. We obviously have Van der Zijden and Luciano Wittfurt, who for those two, they are the other way around. Van der Zijden has got through and is onto the podium.
Yeah, of course we missed that. We couldn't move away from this battle for the lead. Let's see if Wittfurt can maybe come back, because Wittfurt is pretty aggressive under braking. And a run here from Van der Zijden, but the straight is long.
Indeed. Let's see what he can do, because we know that Wittfurt will use some of his experience to try and come back right now, but where's that opportunity? Like I say, because we missed it, we didn't see where they switched over. I'm going to assume it was probably up at Les Combes, where Van der Zijden's been trying time and time again. Maybe he tried to stick it around the outside. He was giving that a good few goes. By the way, we've had 2 Dutch drivers battling. We had 2 Hungarian drivers battling. We've had 2 Swiss drivers as well battling constantly throughout this race. So, and then I would say 2 Germans battling, but we've had lots of Germans on the grid that have been very close to each other. So it kind of makes sense in that point. But it's just interesting to see, battling compatriots and stuff.
Yeah. Because with the Spaniards, it's always a bit more likely on this grid.
Yep. Oh, that's a proper send from Marchal. Not quite there. He's leaving a nose to the inside of Machuca, but not through. You've got Timo going a lap down directly ahead of these two. That's that car just in the foreground of your shot. I don't think he'll need to get out of the way right now, but let's take a look once again at Isaac Price getting down the inside of Jose Luis. The door it wasn't really open. You can see it's a proper send here. He knew the brakes were so much better going into Rivage. Luis goes a little bit wide, holding a tighter line. I mean, the door was kind of open, but let's be honest, you know that if you're running that wide at that point, it's always going to come back to the apex. You don't really look there, but I mean, it's just hard racing between us. It's just a bit of a shame that Luis's tyres basically had burned out, because it was such a good race between them at Les Combes.
Yeah, tough racing, and we will see what they have to say after the race. Make sure to join our Discord channel, by the way. Lots of discussions always happening surrounding the ranked multiplayer. Surely over 1,000 messages a day there. So if you want to join in and not only race but also talk with fellow drivers, that's the right spot. I'm sure Lewis and Price will also have something to say after this really, really exciting race.
Hopefully it's positive, though. We'll see, though. We shall see. We know what sim races are like, unfortunately. I've had a few... yeah, I try to avoid Discord after races these days, because I'll get on there and I'll... you know what I'm like.
Final lap now.
Certainly is. Isaac Price out front. The thing is with Luis, he was going to defend it. He was going to defend it hard. And maybe he wanted to, maybe he would have been able to hang on with the pace advantage that Isaac Price had, though. Maybe he wouldn't have been able to, but it's a shame we were robbed of that. But Price, he's gone aggressive on strategy. He's gone aggressive on track, and he's made it stick. And to be honest, good efforts. We obviously still have the battle for the podium. They've just started their final lap of the race. There was a little bit of lap traffic just hopping out of the way. There is Van der Zijden in third spot in the money position at the moment. Luciano Wittfurt not quite close enough. Once again, Machuca and Marchal very close for fifth as well. And Rokas de B, by the way, is caught up to Vivek.
Yeah, I think he might be running out of time. Oh, Marchal up the inside.
Yeah, a bit too big of a send. That might sort that battle out, to be perfectly honest. Because the gap there now looks too big. You can see they put Timo a lap down on that lap as well, on that rotation of the circuit. It's out to 3 seconds between Isaac Price and Jose Luis. There's Luciano Wittfurt, who's now far enough off the back of Van der Zijden that I don't think there's going to be a move there, and it should be a podium going the way of his compatriot of Luciano Wittfurt to the hands of Van der Zijden, who's driven perfectly well, done very, very well today. Rocha and Christian Grote as well, very, very close. That's what we focus on now. They will be finishing the race as well this lap, because going down into the final chicane, well, you know it, Isaac Price out front. Like I said, it was a tough battle between himself and Jose Luis, the #1 ranked player on the RaceRoom. But Isaac Price, with all his esports experience, the ADAC GT Masters esports driver, will come across the line as the winner here in the Spa 2.4-hour ranked event. It's a fantastic drive and a great result. 2 differing strategies, and once again, a 2.4-hour race delivering in the drama. Jose Luis will be a little bit disappointed with that as he crosses the line in second spot, and Van der Zijden will come across in third. We focus on the battle between Rocha and Grote in 15th spot, and the Norwegian on a one-stop strategy will be able to hang on. There's Van der Zijden, the battle for third position, 30 seconds down, probably even more, so in the tune of more 40 to Isaac Price and Jose Luis. That's why when they had that issue, they had so much of a gap to basically drop back in. They didn't even have to worry about the cars chasing behind. Good effort, though, from Van der Zijden and from Luciano Wittfurt to put on a great show for us. And I think Machuca is under a lot of pressure from Marchal, and I'm pretty sure there might be another send coming down into the final chicane.
Let's see it here. I mean, Marchal pretty close, but that must be a massive send. If he wants to get the fifth position. Yeah, but I think he was a little bit closer. But anyway, last opportunity. Now or never.
That's surely too far back. It surely is. No, I don't think he's going to go for it. Again, great drive from Machuca to get up into 5th spot. A late pit stop as well, and then the defence from Marchal. That's a lot of pressure to deal with in the final moments of quite a long race. It's tight across the line, but it will go the way of the Callaway, meaning that we do have a Callaway inside the top 5, which is always good to see. Had a couple of Callaways inside the top 10 as well, with Schultz crossing the line in 7th. A question of what could have been. I don't think he'll be particularly pleased. And speaking of people that might message people after the race, I think he might have a message for Goit after this one. Goit finishing down in 15th. I'm sure Rokas de B will jump on that train as well. This is tight. Speaking of Rokas de B, was very close. I said he closed up to Vivek, but was not able to pass. Tight as you like, though. And again, questions of what could have been for Rokas de B.
Yeah, good performance nonetheless. And Willem Gravy in the Porsche rounds out the top 10, so that's, I think, 5 different manufacturers in the top 10. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, we'll say, Gail Gortner putting it quite right in chat. Such a shame for gutted to see that Javier Soto wasn't able to take the start, because that would have been, I'm sure he would have added to the action.
Yeah, Soto would have surely been in the mix here. Lerner as well. We don't know what happened to him when he went out of the race. That's a shame, but it also shows, you know, once again, a fantastic race here. Exciting until the end. The ranked multiplayer race, 2.4 hours at Spa.
Isaac Price winning that with Luis behind, Van der Zijden on the podium. A great battle from all of them, and I can't wait to do something like this very similar again.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will happen soon. I mean, the races happen every day, every time. You can just start your race room now if you're hungry for a race, and you will find some. But yeah, if you want to watch another broadcast, make sure to tune in tomorrow, because we will be back at Spa with the Cupra Sim Racing Series.
Yeah, round number 4 of the championship. That's looking very, very round number 5 actually. I think it is. Sorry, we've already finished round 4. That was arrogant. Never mind. Getting a bit behind on myself actually. A nice championship fight with a couple of big names up towards the front, including I think Luciano Vitford might be racing in that because he was racing a few times this season.
I think it was like 11th or so. It was pretty good on the pre-qualifier.
Maybe like Spa.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure he does, and I'm sure we all do as well, because Spa is a great racetrack and it has put on a fantastic show over the 2.4 hours. As Rob was saying, you can jump onto RaceRoom, go and download it from Steam and get onto the grid, because there's so much racing happening on ranked multiplayer. I want to thank everyone for joining us as well. We've had plenty of people jumping in on the broadcast, watching things go on. Thanks to all of the drivers as well for putting on a great show. It's been a great run here at Spa, and until next time, of course tomorrow as well, bye-bye.